Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 259. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, along with Johnny V. Sometimes you're along with, and sometimes you're alongside.
I'm both, actually. I mean, I am right alongside you, and physically tonight, not always. Sometimes you're remote, but
I wish
I'm
it was one of those
usually
nights.
along with you at some places.
We're going to break that down here in episode 259.
Yeah.
Well, glad you guys could join us. Not along here in the studio, but wherever you are. We're glad you guys are with us tonight. We should have a pretty exciting show here. We're hoping for the very special dual champion guest night. And with that, that means a big nix on old Dynamite as well, as we're going to get right to the action.
I booted him.
Tonight's plan, as of right now, and sometimes things don't go as planned, as all of you know, but in a few minutes, we're going to get right to Emerson Keith, who, as I've said now a few times, is actually long overdue. He's got quite an exciting story, not just about his great performance this last weekend, but he's already put himself in the PDGA record book, so we're excited to have him finally join the show. And then she's hanging out with some family and doing some other things in Denver for a little while, but she said when she gets in for the night, she will then step inside the Smashbox, and of course I'm talking about your 2019 Rocky Mountain Women's Disc Golf Championship winner, the first ever two-time winner of that event in Paige Bjerkaas.
How many years has that event been going on?
It has, it's been staggered for the last few years where it's going every other. It has happened 6 years, though.
6 years.
Or 6 iterations of it. And I am very, very blessed and fortunate to say that I was there for the last 3 of them, 2015, 17, and 19. And hopefully every time they host it moving forward, it has become one of my favorite events simply to attend. They just do such a great job, and we'll talk about it more in depth, but I will say right now, some of these women's events, all of the ones I've attended, at least personally, to film or cover in any capacity, they just do such a good job, and I have attended a Daisy Chains, which is very famous out in California. I've attended a number of the Phoenix Ladies Open. We'll also do a bang-up job in the first weekend in November. And then this event, now, like I said, I've been there 3 times along with the U.S. Women's, but just so great. And so every other year when there's not a women's global event is when they've been hosting these Rocky Mountain Women's, because it's such a
Seems to work out for them.
It does. I think 130 women plus, and yeah, lots of good stuff, which, like I said, we'll get to a little bit later. I also see right away Disc Baron has already jumped into the super chat. Super chat. We thank you, Disc Baron, for the support. And I will give him an additional plug in that Disc Baron actually reached out to me recently, and he said, you know, I know you're traveling to some events. Do you need a little extra support in terms of the coverage? And I said, you know, this event I'm covered or whatever it was, but there's going to be some future opportunities where I could use a little extra support. So, Disc Baron, just thank you for even thinking of reaching out and continuing to support both our live efforts and our or my post-production efforts.
Do you know who's not joining us tonight?
I don't know, 7 or 8 billion others?
Well, I hope not. There's one person in particular who happened to be in our state.
Yeah,
2 people.
I don't even want to mention
They didn't even call. They didn't even say,
no, whatever.
Like, no, we don't want to swing by and see the Smashbox Studios. We're here with our giant Discraft wrapped, RV. We're just going to go visit Ben Askren and check out his funky farm course. But don't call Johnny V or Terry.
No, who cares? You literally almost drove right past both of our houses. Johnny lives off of 94 on the south side of Milwaukee. I live right off of 94 on the west side of Milwaukee. You were minutes from my place, but no, that's cool. Paul, Hannah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
some smashies you guys are.
Yeah, I see how it is. And usually if pros swing through here, we want them to come in and check out the studios. We want them to hang out. But
whatevs.
But I see how it is. You're busy work trying to get ready for World Championships.
Hannah and I did have a quick conversation today. She said not only did they visit, but now they're I believe down to pick up some Estonian friends in Chicago, ultimately on their way down to Peoria. And speaking of Peoria, there's a number of people. I saw Steve Rico posting today. He's on the plane, ready to go.
A lot of people getting ready to go.
And thinking about all the people that are out there prepping. We saw some positive words. I think Eric Oakley posted on Facebook today saying that the new Northwood Gold layout is good, and we've heard that echoed now a number of times. So really, really excited. There's a lot of people that have been talking up, Northwood Gold as the redesign. And I know last week we briefly touched on Sunset Hills getting the new FPO T-pads, or the T-pads, permanent T-pads that the FPO will be playing from. So some good stuff, and they extended the world's deadline to today.
To register?
To register. I believe they had it closed down on Friday originally. I don't know exactly why they reopened it. I'm guessing just to try and, of course, get a few more participants. But I think they extended it. Maybe it was yesterday. I apologize. They extended it over the weekend and into maybe 1 o'clock or so on Monday, I thought. And so I'm not sure just how many are officially signed up. But I know also in the news, as we're talking about that action, I know Johnny McRae said Jen has been sick recently, I think allergies and some other things, and he's considering maybe pulling out, or is pulling out, from the MVP Open and possibly some other events because they want to get back to getting her all healed up down in Georgia and the Florida area. So love and best of luck to you guys.
Our thoughts are with them.
Yeah. All right, so what do you want to start with? Do we want to get right to Emerson, who's
I think we
maybe
should
hanging out and ready to go? I think it sounds like a good idea. We will touch on a number of other events. The Junior Championships just took place this last weekend. We'll touch on that after we catch up with Emerson.
Yeah, there were a lot of events this particular weekend that we're going to get a chance to check out.
But first and foremost, hanging out in the digital green room, just about to join us, our Disc Baron digital green room. We can welcome to the show Emerson Keith.
Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm super excited.
It's great, exciting. It's long overdue. We talked about it a little bit when we got everything prepped to make sure you're calling in and everything, that you've been playing just hundreds of events and winning a lot of events, but we've never really had the chance to get you on. So it's long overdue, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So we've talked about you a number of times, as Johnny just alluded to, and talked about just how many events, I don't want to just say you've racked up, but how many events you've gone out and you've battled
214
and competed and fought hard in. But last year alone, did you not set or break the newest PDGA records in terms of sanctioned events in a year with, what was it, 75?
It was in the 70s. I want to say it was 72.
Okay. I guess
maybe 72, 74. But I believe I did get beat by another guy in Texas.
Really?
He played like 3 more events than me because he was able to play the pro and the AM events. So he had a couple more weekends where he could play more events than me.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I'm talking
looking at 2017, and it says 73 events.
Now,
yeah, I think he beat me by a few.
Okay, so we'll backtrack just a tad though. Tell everyone, since we haven't had you, and not everyone knows your backstory. Tell everyone a little bit about what got you into the game, and how you were introduced to it, and maybe some of the people that were influencing you or helping you out when you got started, if anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a lot of guys that helped me learn and everything, but it all started with basically my dad wanting to play disc golf all the time, but he was responsible for a bunch of little children. And my mom was like, you have to take them with you if you want to go play disc golf. So it just started being our thing. We'd go out and play disc golf. And then my uncle was there, and then we just had a bunch of buddies that were there, and they all slowly started teaching me as I started to show more interest in the game. And one guy in particular, AJ, he would teach me. He taught me how to throw a sidearm, and my dad hated it. He did not want me to learn how to throw a sidearm at all.
Because you'd be better than him?
Because it just was a pointless shot to them back then.
Okay.
No one knew that anyone needed a sidearm. But they called it a chicken wing because I thought it was funny, even though it wasn't. So my dad would be like, "Quit throwing that chicken wing."
Well, so he maybe wasn't leading you down the right path, but were you in that age of, or in the current, we'll say, internet age of being able to watch things like YouTube? Did you seek any help out there, or was it always people in person?
No, it was people, and then just me going to the field in my neighborhood and just throwing. There was often times where I'd hit houses in the neighborhood. I'd even hit a couple kids out there on accident.
I don't know if you want to admit that.
Yeah,
yet.
I was gonna say you're not of the largest stature. Hitting other kids is probably not the best move for you.
No, but everyone knew everybody. I grew up in a small town,
which is where?
It was in North Texas in a town called Providence Village. It's just north of Dallas.
Okay, so
probably about 45 minutes.
Being in Texas then and now, and having the opportunity to even find that many tournaments. Now, clearly, you can go outside of the state, and there's a lot of other places to play. But being in Texas, I think to a Bradley Williams and some of the other players that we've seen play just an enormous amount of events in a year, you can do playing 70-plus tournaments just staying in Texas if you wanted to, couldn't you?
You could probably get pretty close to it.
So what about? Sorry, I was just gonna say, what about the community? Is it do you feel like it's part of the growth and your excitement is found just in Texas, or did you find that you were enjoying everywhere else you played as well, or was there anything special playing so many events in Texas?
Just seeing all the same people and all hanging out with all my friends. I made a little bit of money, so it was like, what else could I be doing right now? So I just played tournaments every weekend, and I loved it, and I ended up playing a lot of them.
So, I hope you don't mind us asking. How old are you now?
I'm 21.
You're 21, and you've already played 200 plus tournaments. What, as you were getting done with high school, were you thinking about disc golf as a career path, and what's kind of shaped and molded where your professional career is right now?
So I did have a few jobs. I worked as a roofer for one summer for just a guy that just randomly offered me a job. I did that. And then I also worked at Walmart while I was turning into the professional side of disc golf. And then once I really got into it, I started asking for more and more time off, and they were like, "We can't give you more time off." And I was like, "Well, I want to play disc golf." So I ended up quitting Walmart, and then I've just been disc golfing ever since.
Okay. And obviously you've taken that to the next level with all these events. Now, you earlier this year, we saw there was quite a big to-do about your gender reveal for the child that you guys are having. You and your girlfriend or wife, Mackenzie?
Wife.
Okay.
Wife, Mackenzie.
Yep. So clearly there has to be a lot of support if she loves or goes along with or supports the idea of you playing this much disc golf, traveling, playing every weekend. What's that conversation been like as you guys have been working through that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Basically, how and where does all of that support come from? How does she feel about all of that?
I mean, she doesn't like me to be gone, but at the same time, she likes me to be doing she wants me to be just as happy as she is. So like me being happy is getting to go do what I love, but also having what I have back at home. Supported it from day one. It gets hard at times, me being gone, especially right now since she's like crazy pregnant and everything.
And we talked a little bit about this before, but when is she due?
3 weeks.
August 28th.
August 28th.
That's right during right after Worlds.
It's the week after, so we can just cross fingers, pray.
You're good. Yeah, I mean, come on. Kids always come right on time.
The first one is always late, right? The first one, or there's something?
That's what we're gonna go with that right now.
So what's the plan? What is the emergency plan? We saw was it? I think it was 2 years ago. Nate Sexton, or was it last year?
Yeah, I think it was
2 years. 2 years for Nate. I
2
believe.
years ago for Nate. Yeah, God, this all just runs together. Nate had to back out of going to Worlds, or didn't have any plans because of Cora. So what's your grand scheme for this particular week?
The original plan was to have an open-ended flight. So if I need to leave, I can leave right then and there. But then last night I kind of had an idea. I was like, so let's just say I'm in the top 5. Like I'm close to winning this thing. Do I really leave?
What
Or
round
do
is
I
it?
wait? Or do I wait it out and then come home? Do I play? Do I just go ahead and win and then come home?
You're looking at the wrong people to ask. I think the person to ask is sitting next to you in your living room there. How does she feel about where you're positioned in the world championships as opposed to where you're positioned at the hospital?
I asked this question last night and I have not heard a response yet.
That should be all the answer you need then.
The question is, have you heard anything? Has she even spoken to you since you said that?
She's spoken to me, but only when she wanted something.
Like you to be present for your child's birth. Okay.
But I will say this, in that if he is truly in the top 5 and it's towards the end of the week, that is, I understand children and kids and all this stuff. Terry and I each have 2. That is a life-changing moment if you can win. That is possibly setting you up for the rest of your life, quite literally.
Right. And that's what I was saying. I was like, this could be the foundation of my career. And it just happens to be the time that our child could be born, or hopefully she waits.
And if you take third?
It's just a scenario that we're probably going to have to play by ear.
So here's the scenario. The only problem with that is, if I'm thinking logically, if you were to win and if your child is born during that week, the only 3 names are what? Northwood, Eureka, or Peoria. Those are the only 3 names. Or Northwood, Eureka, Peoria, Keith maybe would have to be the full name.
Maybe. I
mean,
think
if you win Worlds.
I think I would have to try and convince, but she's already saying no.
Yeah.
Do you have a name picked out already?
We're going with Charlie.
All right, very nice. But not Northwood, Eureka, or Peoria.
Middle name.
No.
I mean,
that could be the nickname. We could go like a most used nickname.
Yeah. I bet you Nate Heinold could maybe get the Visitors and Convention Bureau to kick in if you were to go with Eureka and work that in somehow. He's got it in with the Chamber of Commerce people there. I don't know. There might be a kickback. I'm just saying, you need help with that hospital visit. We'll get Nate on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that could be your college fund already.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so much, and plus all of that sounds so much better than if it would have been a few weeks ago and it was called, you had to go with like Ledgestone or something. At least,
Right.
Yeah, you're good. All right, so the Worlds aside, which will be very exciting as it comes up here in the next week or so, you just played at a phenomenal course. In fact, one of the highest rated courses on the planet. So many people talk about it, and you had a great weekend. Let's go ahead and let's hear it in your words. Set up the course, set up the environment, and where you were this weekend.
So I was in Columbia, Missouri, which I had never been there before. I had been to St. Louis, which is like 2 hours away, but never Columbia. I've never played disc golf in Missouri. So I had no idea what to expect, didn't know anything about the course. And my buddy, Zach Johnson, convinced me to go to the tournament. And he was like, dude, this is the best course. You have to play it. You're going to love it. And it did not disappoint. I showed up and it was raining the first day I got there to practice. So I walked 9 holes. And within walking those 9 holes, I said, this is my favorite course. I haven't even seen the back 9. I said, this is my favorite course. I don't even care what the back 9 looks like. And the next day I wake up, I go practice the rest of the course, and it just gets even better. So now that is my favorite course.
Well, and now let's also take that a step further and talk about, we've talked about how many tournaments you've played in, 215 sanctioned ones plus others. So what is it about this course? What is it about this property? Mind you, none of us here are getting paid to talk about it, but what is it about this course and this property that is just so great for you?
Well, I would have to say that the par on the course, I mean, par is really irrelevant, but the score that is going to average on the hole is good. So like par on the course is so good. I think par was over 1,000, like 1,007 rated every round or something like that. It was definitely 1,000 or more rated, just even par. And then the previous course record was only 6 under. It's just it's fair. So you have definite times to go for stuff and definite times to where it could bite you if you went for something. And it's just one of the most fair courses I've ever played.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stats right now, and you can see that par is 68 out there. You shot a 62, a 60, and a 61. It looks like you're right. One over, actually, a 69 was 1,000 and rated. So 1,000 rated.
Yeah, the course was extremely difficult. I actually ended up being able to almost go bogey free. It's kind of embarrassing to say. I did miss maybe a 12-foot putt on the back nine to stay bogey free. But
well, you had a few to give. I think you ended up having a 7-stroke cushion over Zachariah, and I don't know how he doesn't know this, that you should never bring along or invite the people that are going to beat you.
Yeah, don't invite better people.
That's what he said. He even said in his speech at the awards ceremony, he said, "I'm not bringing my friends back to my own hometown tournament."
Yeah, no, I mean, that's like a noob mistake. You never want to bring the guy that's going to beat you ultimately. But you clear everyone by 7 strokes. You go wire to wire to win this. You said the previous course record was 62, which you matched on the opening round along with Nico. And then you set the course record ultimately at 60 during that second round.
I set it, but Zach was on third card, and he had set it before I even came in.
Okay.
I had a putt. I had about a 50-foot death putt back towards the creek on 18 to break the record. I went for it, missed it, barely stayed in bounds, and was able to make the comeback putt to tie the record that he had set. So me and him share course record.
And then you followed it up and cleared everyone by at least 2 strokes during your final round, shooting a 61, just one off of that course record you set the day before. And just a very commanding win over Zachariah, and it looks like Joel Freeman. They tied for second, 7 strokes behind you. Alex Russell, a full 10 strokes behind you. Now, and we're not taking the limelight off of you, but we haven't seen or heard a lot from Nico. He obviously came out firing that first round. Did you play with him during the second or third rounds as well then?
You were cutting out a little bit. I couldn't fully.
I was saying that during the you must have played with probably, Nico that second round after you guys both had pretty hot opening rounds. Is that right?
Yes, I played with Nico the second.
Yeah, and I was just saying that we haven't seen or heard a lot from him, and I'm not trying to sidestep your limelight at all, but that's kind of his neck of the woods, so to speak. We just haven't seen him much this year. Was there anything that you guys talked about, or that you saw him on, out there actually playing in the event and on a larger scale? Because he's been somewhat absent this year.
Yeah, he's been taking some time to himself. He's been touring for a long time, as everybody knows, and I mean the tour, it really puts a toll on your body and your brain. I mean, it's so mentally challenging out there on the road, playing weekend to weekend, throwing shots that you should be able to throw all the time, and then when you don't execute those shots for a couple weeks in a row or maybe even longer, you just get so frustrated, and at some point you eventually have to you need to take a break just to give your body a break.
Yeah, I saw Nico earlier in the year. He seemed to really enjoy his time in Thailand, and then from there, he's done just that. And I talked to him a few weeks ago, too, and he had said, he's just kind of laying low a little and working on some other things. But so let me follow that all up with and transition back to you personally. You just talked about, if you're not executing shots or possibly any kind of mental or physical fatigue, if anyone is susceptible to that, it would be you right now. How do you keep yourself fresh? What keeps you motivated and grinding out there?
I mean, just the love for the game. I love playing. I love getting better. I love learning new shots. I mean, I definitely don't have all the shots in my bag right now. I might at some point be able to throw them, but not consistently like I want to. So there's just constantly practice. And then when I do kind of get in a slump where I have something mental going on, say I'm not throwing my sidearms very well, well, then I just focus on my backhands for a little while, and I throw those for tournaments because I have a tournament coming up and my sidearm doesn't feel good. So it's not going to feel good for the weekend. I might as well focus on my backhand for that week. That way I can still manage a good weekend and still shoot as best as I possibly can.
That sounds like a lot of confidence. Sorry if that's cutting in. That sounds like a lot of confidence in being able to just say, okay, well, maybe 50% of my throwing style is not working. I'll rely on the other half. What has made you such such an overall good golfer? I know that sounds like a pretty generic question, but what do you think has set you so far above so many other people so quickly?
Possibly shot selection. I mean, I see a lot of guys that have the talent. Just when they get there in tournament scenarios, they might not throw the higher percentage for themselves. Like, just because the biggest gap is a backhand hyzer flip doesn't mean that the sidearm through a smaller gap isn't not the route to go if that's your game. You'll often see me reach for the smaller sidearm gap.
Interesting. So you almost go against what is normal logic of a lot of people saying, well, go with the highest percentage shot or what seems like it is, but you're saying
right, play higher percentage for your game is what I'm saying.
Okay. Now, in seeing your calendar, and I definitely was thinking about this when we saw your announcement about being blessed with a child earlier this year. In seeing that, you've got Worlds on your schedule and then nothing else after that, which I'm not second guessing or of course passing any judgment. What do you think will be your plan, though? Maybe once the things are better under control or the dust settles, however you want to word that.
Right. I think we're just going to kind of play it by ear. I probably won't be up in Vermont or anything because that's entirely too far away for me right now. But I do see myself playing a bunch of local events, probably anything 6 or 8 hours away I can get out to and then come back. But over 24 hours, that's a little too far away. And then there's just so many events in Texas that I can keep playing. And there's some A tiers that come through Texas later in the season that I'll be playing. And who knows, something might happen and I might end up north. You never know.
Johnny, I feel like we should have a new feature tonight, which is the reaction cam on his wife every time he tells us what his next plan is. I feel like that would have been a good feature tonight.
At this point, she might have just stopped listening. She stopped talking, and now she stopped listening. So I'm gonna step away.
I'm getting a note. You'll be all right.
Well, it's pretty exciting, everything that you have going on. Dare I say, do you ever see, we'll say, the Nate Sexton plan, hopping in an RV and going at it that way? Uh-oh, another look. But is there any of that in the
No,
works?
that was a good look.
Okay.
She just said ideally. That's 100% our plan.
Awesome.
She has worked hard in what she does, and she's found a job. She's a teacher. So she's found a job that allows her to Skype into a classroom and teach.
Yeah, nice.
So we're going to wait one more year, learn how to take care of a child, basically, because, I mean, we're both very young. We don't really know what we're doing, honestly.
No one ever does. That's all right.
And we're going to hopefully be in an RV and get out there on the road as a family.
That sounds amazing. Now, I know this is kind of getting maybe a little ahead of ourselves, but do you see it as an RV? Do you see building out a van? Have you guys planned all that kind of stuff out?
I don't think a van van would be good just because it's just too much. I don't think a truck and trailer would be good because I talked to Nate, and that's what he does. And he said that they just have to stop too many times. Because you have to stop every 2 hours or 3 hours with a baby to change a diaper or feed or something. If you're in a Class A or just a driving one, then you are able to move around the cabin and all that while it's in drive, and you don't have to stop as many times. It won't take 10 hours to drive 4.
All right, so you guys have clearly been thinking all of these types of things out. Dare I jump ahead a little bit and say, where do you see you in your disc golf career, and what are you kind of planning out? We'll say even in 5 years from now, 5 or 10 years from now. I mean, you just mentioned you're only 21 right now. Well, what do you see? Your position at 26 or at 31?
I mean, just like anybody else, I hope to be at the top. I hope to be playing better than I am now. I definitely know that I can improve on certain points in my game, and there's definitely times where I need to learn how to come out of a funk in the middle of a round. Like if I'm usually at all these big tournaments, I'm having 2 great rounds and then one that's kind of like hanging around 1,000. And on tour, hanging around 1,000 just doesn't do it for you. It's going to put you in 8th to 15th place if you have 2 great rounds and then like 1,000 rated round. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes you have to average 10-20 just to get top 15. It's getting crazy. So just staying more on top of my game, and then hopefully being at the top of a company. I would love for it to be Latitude. I've been Yeah.
Now? Really?
Smashbox exclusive. We're gonna have a baby. I mean, you're gonna have to continue this interview from the hospital, of course.
Yeah.
Is everything all right? Do you need to? Do you got your bags packed? You ready to run to the
Oh
hospital?
no, that's okay. Just the police are in my apartment.
Oh, okay.
That is a Smashbox first.
Everything okay?
Yeah, I think they're just checking for something. I don't know.
I mean, we can do an interview with the police as well if they need to. I mean, we've been here. We know where where you've been.
You've got an alibi. I've been on Smashbox, man.
I haven't been doing anything.
You certainly have
funny.
no shortage of activity going on in your life right now. That's for sure.
No, that's yeah. So back on topic.
Yeah, don't mind them. Now, if you get
where
cuffed,
I see myself in 5 years, right?
Exactly. I mean, obviously, you want to be playing a ton of tournaments, playing at all the biggest and best tournaments, and then I mean, let's talk a little bit right now about, and you can thank them later, but you're sponsored by Latitude. How did
Yes.
the relationship develop, and what's that been like for you?
So my first year playing Worlds was in Emporia. I was still kind of an advanced player, but I wanted to play Worlds. So I went up there, me, Mackenzie, and my mom. We went up there, and I'm playing, and it's great. I have a great time. I make the cut. Everything's cool. And then we go to the players' party, or the block party that they have on the main strip out there. And I was like, I wonder what I can do about getting sponsored. I really want to be sponsored. So the only people that are there are they're the DD guys and the Latitude guys and the West Side. Before West Side was actually bought by DD and Latitude, like that guy was there. So I go up to Dave Feldberg. He's running the team for Latitude. And I'm like, hey, I throw all Innova in my bag right now, but I don't mind switching. Dallas has the Dynamic Disc Carrollton crew, and so I have access to all that stuff. I don't see the switch being very hard. I can do it. And he was like, let me get back to you. And the next day he comes out and he watches me throw one shot, and then I never see him again. And then a couple months later, I get an email going, hey, you're now sponsored. Here you go. So it was really just me walking up to Dave Feldberg going, hey, I'm really interested in being sponsored. This is why I want to be sponsored. I want to eventually win everything one day, basically, is how the conversation went. And then at the end of the year, I get a contract and I start playing for Latitude.
All right, that easy.
It does help when you can throw a country mile, I think.
Yeah, so as Johnny mentioned earlier, I think of, when you think about our longest throwers in the game, you usually think of your Simons, your
Double G, Eagle.
So on and so forth, the Eagle, certainly. You are, what height do you come in at?
5'5".
5'5", and how far do you throw?
5.
Okay, 500 feet. So
I'll put that average of 500 feet. I'll put it out there.
Okay, well, incredibly impressive. And again, I don't expect you to get up and give us a tutorial there, or you may or may not be in cuffs soon. I don't know, but what do you feel like you're doing right, or that you do so well that allows you to throw that far?
Well, I mean, it helps that I was taught by people that just knew the mechanics. They didn't teach me really anything wrong. They didn't give me an opportunity to just go start ripping drivers as far as I could. I started out with a putter and a mid-range, and that's all I was allowed to throw. And then eventually I graduated into like the fairways, so like the Eagle, the T-Bird. So they started letting me throw that, and then I never really touched a wide rim driver until I started playing tournaments in 2011. I think I had a Wraith, maybe a couple Blizzard discs when they first came out. And that's it. So them teaching me how to throw properly for so many years, I wasn't able to develop too many bad habits. And then what really pushed me to start throwing farther is getting out to the bigger tournaments, watching Ricky and Paul and them throw far, and me being like frustrated. I'm so competitive. I do not like anybody being better than me. And people are like, oh, you're not going to throw that far. Just learn your game different. Just be super accurate. Do all that. And I was like, no, I want to throw far. So I just started going to fields and I started teaching myself to throw far. And you can't really go and watch Ricky. You can't watch how Ricky throws and try and do what Ricky does and throw that far, because that's just, no one has the same exact body as Ricky. No one has the same exact body as Paul. So it just takes a lot of time out in the field and learning your own body. How your body wants to swing is how you need to throw. Don't force a change that could end up taking a lot of distance off. I say learn your own body and you'll get the maximum amount that you can out of it.
I like it. And that actually kind of leads into my next question that I had a little earlier, which is, when you're thinking about the other players in the game, and I'm sorry if it's a little garbled for you, what I was saying is, when you're thinking about other players in the game, are there things that you either admire or aspire to either do or emulate, or do you feel like you're on your own path entirely? I mean, you just mentioned Paul and Ricky, of course, but is there anyone that you are still kind of either learning from or aspire to be somewhat like?
I mean, everyone has their like idol and everything, and that might be the guy that you play next to, or that might be some local guy that you play with back at home. I would say like the pros, like if I was to pick a pro that I kind of follow after, I would say I follow a little bit after Paul, because Paul, I mean, he's like arguably the best player in the world and all that. I mean, he's kind of good. But I feel like I could kind of relate my game a little bit to his, because he doesn't really go outside of his comfort zone. I mean, how often is Paul playing like super crazy good and then just randomly make like a crazy decision? It doesn't really happen. Like you see him throw great shots consistently that are like his same shots. He never really goes outside of his comfort zone. Not saying that like he doesn't really have an outside of his comfort zone because he can do everything, but he stays within himself in tournaments. He doesn't try and force anything. I've seen Paul pitch out, and that a lot of players have a hard time pitching out. I've seen Paul pitch out. As it goes back home, I mean, I got my dad, my uncle, and then a good friend of mine, Bucky Garrett, has really helped me in my game over the past year in like calming me down, because I used to just try and throw so hard, and I tried to birdie every hole, and then there's just some holes on courses that you don't need to try and birdie, because I mean you're going to end up taking a bogey half the time you go for them. So he's helped me like calm down in a sense of playing the course smarter and attacking in better situations and scoring better ultimately.
Now I'll take that even more from maybe a physical side over to a mental side, and I'll say, is there anyone on the course in the FPO, MPO, MP40 or whatever? Is there anyone out there that you really either try to emulate or you admire maybe their mental composure or the way that they carry themselves or the way they handle adversity? Is there anyone that you're like, wow, I like how they do it and I would like to try and be like that? Or do you feel like you have the mental side, fully in check?
I mean, everyone has their blow-ups. Everyone gets real ticked off eventually. I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff this year already. Not going to mention it. Everyone really already knows. But I mean, we've all had those moments, whether they were on camera or off camera. I've had my moments, but I would really say, I mean, it's kind of an easy pick, but Kevin Jones. He is so good about handling bad breaks or just playing bad in general. He's always got a smile on his face, and he's always congratulating the guy next to him for throwing a great shot. So I would say Kevin Jones.
Yeah, I think, like you said, that's a relatively easy pick. We see that demeanor and the way he carries himself out on the course all the time, and I think anybody would be crazy to not be able to praise how he handles himself on the course, even through some tough breaks and adversity, like you said. Is there any part of the year or the season being in Texas, is there anything about where you live or maybe your mental or physical state that slows you down or wears you out, or do you feel like with where you are, there's just a tournament all the time so you can play every single weekend?
I'm not really grasping what you're
basically I'm saying, like, do you get I don't want to say just worn out, but do you ever think about, like, in Wisconsin, when it gets colder, it's kind of easier to start thinking about relaxing or maybe not playing every day or every weekend. When you're in a warm weather climate, I always think of, of course, California, Texas,
Arizona.
Florida, Arizona, whatever. It feels like there's
no off season. It feels like
no one's forcing you to take a break. And being down there,
right.
does that ever creep into your mind about, like, maybe I could slow down or take take
2 to
some
3
time
week
off?
break.
Yeah.
right. No, I don't really take any breaks. I get told to take breaks all the time. And about a month ago, I did that. I played a tournament. I was actually after Ledgestone. I played a tournament. I played Ledgestone, took a week off, played another tournament, took a week off, and then played another tournament. And then I've been playing ever since. So I took 2 weeks in a month span, but played in between. And during the weeks that I took off, I didn't play at all. So that tournament that I played in between those 2 weeks, I had no practice. So that was a little rough. I ended up still winning the tournament, but it was not in the fashion that I wanted to win at all. But with it being so warm in Texas, you can play year round. So I don't really take breaks. I probably should.
Okay, so then that actually kind of segues into another question of, right now you're 21, you're young, you're agile. You're all those things that go along with being a fit, active 21-year-old. We've seen quite a movement with Seth Muncie and all of the athletes that he works with. Have you started either doing anything from Disc Golf Strong or any of your own personal routines or fitness or anything like that? Has that kind of crept in yet, or are you going to wait till you start feeling it in a few years?
No, I stretch. I'll stretch before I throw. I mean, I didn't used to up until like the last year. I got convinced that I needed to, so I wouldn't injure myself. I don't do any of the Disc Golf Strong stuff. I probably should start doing it. I haven't really. I mean, things have been crazy with the pregnancy for her and me just coming back and forth. And when I'm home, I don't really have time to like just dip out and go to the gym and train and all the stuff that I should be doing to make sure that I don't get hurt. But I will stretch before I play, and then I play all the time. So my muscles are constantly still doing it. There's not like, I'm not like sitting around for a week and then just popping out there and doing it again.
I know we kind of already talked about the rest of your year and maybe plans of events. You're going to see how it goes. USDGC, of course, is a major that kind of closes out the year or starts to close out the year kind of officially from the bigger tour side of things. Is that on your radar? Have you, I have to assume you've qualified already? Yes? No? Probably?
That's a bad assumption because I have not qualified yet.
I was going to say, when are you going to? But, I mean, you talked about top 5 at Worlds, so there you go.
That's the time.
Yeah.
At Worlds.
Well, I am going to Madisonville right before Worlds to hopefully qualify. And then that way that I don't have the extra stress of, I have to play good so I can qualify. So I don't have to go the day before and try and qualify because it's just a lot.
Yeah, what would you say is your next short-term goal in the next year or two? Is that a major win? Is that a certain amount of A-tier wins or pro tours, national tours? What are some of the very realistic goals that you have in front of you?
I say I'd like to get top 10 in a lot of the bigger tournaments I play. I top 5 at A tiers because, I mean, when there's A tiers, it's like they're usually all spread out. So the competition kind of isn't as deep in all these A tiers. So I like top 5 A tiers, top 10 Disc Golf Pro Tour and all those. And then the same goes for like NTs because it's essentially the same field. Maybe you add a couple of overseas guys. It might change top 15, be okay with it. But I would really ultimate goal is to win one of the Disc Golf Pro Tour or higher events. Since I have my goal for the past year has been to take down an A tier, and I did that at VPO and then again at Ponca City and then this weekend at Mid-America Open. So I've accomplished that 3 times in less than a year since VPO. So my next goal to set is a Disc Golf Pro Tour or higher.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty awesome. Well, we're going to let you get going here soon, but of course we want you to plug and mention all of your supporters, sponsors, places somebody could find a support disc or some support product, whatever that might be. I know Ryan over at Legit has always been awesome to us, and I'm pretty sure he's been pretty awesome to you, but him along with everyone else, please go ahead and plug them. Let's hear it.
Well, first I'm going to plug this woman right here. Do you want to say hi?
Yeah, she does.
What does plug mean?
You said it.
Yeah.
Hello, Mackenzie.
That means just let everybody know that I appreciate all your support and help for letting me do what I love and letting me play 74 tournaments in 1 year.
Very awesome. Yes, Mackenzie, the whole world definitely, thanks you and admires your amount of commitment and support because being alongside someone that plays and travels that much is a high level.
Except maybe Corey Merle. She kind of has some beef with him.
A lot of people do.
I'm not even going to go there, so that's okay. Okay.
The Central Coast guy that called you my special lady friend.
Special lady friend. Are you kidding me?
Mackenzie, you have a special place in my heart already because my daughter's name is Mackenzie. So there you go. All right. Aside from your expecting wife, who else do you have to thank?
All the local guys here at home. My dad, my uncle, Bucky Garrett, Cato Allen, Alan Jensen, and sorry if I'm forgetting your name, and you're a local guy that has supported me. The Dynamic Disc Carrollton crew, Steven Story and Bradley Crow, those guys have seen me play tournaments for, I think they ran the tournament that I first ever played, actually. So they've seen me come up from 3 feet tall to 5.5 feet tall. So they've been able to help me a lot, and they have helped me a lot with my mental game, just letting me know what's unacceptable on the course and all that. They've definitely been honest there. Mr. Jim's Pizza in Carrollton, Texas. That guy is awesome. Brian James. Of course, Latitude. Latitude's great. They help me out in every way they can. Legit Disc Golf. Ryan Draper. He's the TD for Waco Charity Open. He also owns Legit. And if you like hats or just cool shirts, then go hit him up and get some merch. Foundation Disc Golf. I don't know how many people have heard about it, but it's coming out, and it's coming out pretty strong. It's they're an online retail store, and they basically have everything you want. They have all the tour series, mainly Discraft stuff. I know they do a lot of work with Paul, and they're about to just start doing some more work with me. They're going to do some, I believe it's called In the Head rounds, practicing for Worlds with me. So be on the lookout for that on their YouTube channel. Am I forgetting anybody?
Do you have a specific disc or anything that people can pick up? I'm looking online. It looks like an Opto X Explorer by chance, maybe?
I did decide to put my name on the Opto X Explorer because not only was it the 2018 disc of the year, it is one of my favorite discs in my bag, backhand and forehand. And I guess I have to let everybody know
acknowledge the beautiful signature.
The beautiful signature on the front is not mine. It is Mackenzie's signature for me. Mine was so bad at the time, we could not put it on a disc.
Wow.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I was going to say, she does it all. You clearly are a very
all
blessed
I do
man.
is show up and throw them. That's all I do.
It takes an entire village sometimes. And we've spoken with Ricky Wysocki, how he has a lot of family members that do things on the side and help him out. So this is just a really good way to prep for the future, to have yourself a tour manager, so to speak, and a wonderful wife and mother of your child. It all just fits together great.
Yeah, eventually Charlie's going to run my Instagram.
Yep, that's exactly how you get it going.
Take that job off your hands, huh?
One of these days we'll have to have a sit-down conversation of everything that I carry for this kid at tournaments.
Wow. Yeah. Again,
snacks, first aid kit.
That's
water,
your extra stuff.
Juice.
That's not what they want to know.
Yeah, it is.
It kind of is. This is why we. This,
babe, can you go to the car? No, it's my backpack. You learn.
There have been times where I forgot something, like maybe an umbrella, and it started raining, and she ran back to the car for me.
Wow, you again, very, very blessed. All right.
Yes.
All right.
But also with the idea of her doing the better looking signature on the disc is not only for it to look better, but for it to be a different experience by coming up to me and getting my signature. I didn't want someone, I like the idea of someone being able to buy my signature disc and then getting a signature from me that's not already on the disc. Just so it's a little different, maybe a little more special that they did get to meet me in person and get my signature. Just something different.
I like it. That makes perfect sense. All right, buddy. Well, we're gonna let you go. I don't know if the cops have already left. Hopefully, you're in the free and
Did
clear.
the cops leave? Am I going to jail?
Nope.
Good.
Not yet. Well, again, thank you guys both for joining us. Mackenzie, thank you for your insight as well. And of course,
Absolutely.
we wish you guys the best of luck. And hopefully, maybe you can double up. You can win Worlds and then still get home in time for an on-time arrival for little Charlie, and you guys will be all good to go.
I think she likes that idea.
Oh, you need to encourage him to do a pregnancy video with me, like hip hop dancing and such.
She wants me to dance with her.
That could be a Smashbox
You can do it.
exclusive. We could.
It's encouragement.
Yeah. Well, we'll find. All right. Well, before any more ideas come up, we're gonna let you go. But
Yeah.
seriously, guys, we appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your background, your story, and it's so great to catch up with you. And I know all of our Smashies out there love hearing from you guys. So thank you, and have a great night, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Goodbye.
That was a wonderful interview. I love that. This is why we do Smashbox. Honestly,
This is why we do it live.
this is why we do it live. You won't get this type of interview from
No.
any other podcast. I guarantee it. You can listen to all the other ones, and they're not going to give you the cops. They're not
Nope.
going to give you the pregnancy information.
Nope.
They're not going to give you the fact that that's not really Emerson Keith's signature.
Oh my
This
gosh.
is the type of info that you tune in for at Smashbox. These are all
Exactly.
exclusives.
Every one of them. We even a little shade thrown around.
Yeah, throwing some shade at
I
Mr.
wouldn't
Merle.
dare call her whatever you call. I don't even want to repeat it. She
If
clearly
I have
didn't
to
like
take
it.
sides, I'm taking hers.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
all day,
come on.
all day. Well, thank you guys very much, Disc Barons. This is one of our best interviews today. Again, so great to have him. We've talked about him so many times over the last few years with the amount of events he's not only played, but then he does well. You know, when I was looking at his events, he rarely has missed the cash in the last few years. You know, when he's playing 60, 70 tournaments, whatever, and winning 13, 14, 15 grand in a year, and just continuing to play every single weekend, sometimes multiple times and multiple events per weekend. And then to hear he's accomplished so much and played so much, and he's still just at that fresh young age of 21. And what do you know, Johnny? This leads us perfectly into the newest feature and tab found on the PDGA website. I'm going to go ahead and I want to give Steve Gans the credit, but I bet you that that gorgeous Pete Chris is probably the one behind it. One of the two.
Yeah, correct. If you go to the PDGA website, you can actually see now there's a new tab. It has player statistics, ratings detail, ratings history. Well, there's a lot of extra room on there for more tabs. So they added there.
Yeah, we're not talking about the beverage.
No
tab.
one's talking about that. Or the old store that was in the in malls, right?
I don't think that was called tab.
No, it's probably not.
No, you're thinking
Anyway,
of something else.
Anyway, but there's a new career wins tab out there, and
Can you show it to everybody?
I can't. For some reason,
on.
it's not popping up on my
Oh,
system.
that's the PDGA always blocking us when we're trying to promote them.
No, but you can go out there, and it's awesome because you can click career wins, and it'll show you just that. All of their career wins. Emerson Keith has 65 career wins out of 214 career events. So you can see every single one of his wins all the way back to, for him particularly, September of 2011 in recreational. So it's a cool new feature. Go out and check it out. You can see everybody, and you don't have to kind of dig through year by year like we used to do. So
Yeah,
it's really a nice way to.
It really is, and I called out the guy because I just can't stay out of everyone's business. Ricky Wysocki had Instagram this very thing today. Hey, cool new feature thanks to the PDGA. Someone's like, duh, that's been out for like a year.
No,
It's
it
like,
hasn't.
No, it hasn't. That's what I replied. No, it hasn't. It came out in the last week.
Yeah,
So
it came out in the last
you
few
would have
days.
had to otherwise dig, like Johnny was saying, through every single year and do some kind of a sort and look for it. And now the fact that it was just added right in there is in fact pretty cool. I won't lie. I actually did, once I saw it, I actually even looked on my own to see where some of mine had dated, the few that I have, where they had dated all the way back to, I think, 1995 or whatever, when I played in one of my first tournaments way back in the days. So, yeah, very cool. Thank you, PDGA. Another thing that they did recently, may or may not have been in the last week or two, I believe, actually, is when you go to the individual divisions, there's now a way to collapse the divisions themselves. So if you see the open and then you really don't care about looking at open,
there's a typical web arrow that you can unwind and wind up.
Oh, that's the official term?
Twirl, unwind, something
Collapse?
else. Collapse, that could be a good one to use as well.
Unwind?
Sure.
Really? Is that like a Web 4.0 term?
It might be. I don't know.
I
I make these things up.
Okay. There's got to be I'd love to know. Somebody really way smarter than both of us combined knows out there
It's got
what that official terminology is called. But anyway, it's great because, again, if you want to, I like collapse. If you want to collapse or expand any particular division to get them out of your way, so to speak, it's a really quick, easy way to do it.
Speaking of divisions, let's talk a little bit about some of the events that we
do
had
it.
this particular weekend. As Emerson had talked about, we saw a few A tiers out there, and let's just real quickly kind of sum up the Mid-America Open, the one that Emerson Keith had won. He beat Zach Johnson by 7 strokes and Joel Freeman by 7 strokes as well. So they shot 14 under par. Emerson was at 21 under. In 4th place, Alex Russell. In 5th place, Gavin Rathburn. Congratulations to the top 5. Emerson taking home $1,060. Moving down to the Open Women, you have Courtney Cannon winning by a single stroke, shooting an 880, 899, and a 955. So really kind of crushing that last round, well above her 872 rating. She takes home $505. In Pro Masters, we don't normally talk about them, but it was right here on my screen. So Jay Yeti, and anytime I can joke about Dixon taking 2nd place,
ouch, cuts like a knife
in the Pro Masters field, I like to get that little dig in. But Dixon Jowers taking 2nd place behind Yeti by a single
way
stroke.
Behind in 2nd place.
Way behind by a
buried
single stroke.
by Yeti.
Jay took home $885.
So nice workout to the shout out to the event. I know there was a discussion briefly. I think that there was to be some video coverage, and then
I believe Jomez was originally supposed to be there, and for some reason they had to pull out, withdraw, back out. I don't.
Yeah, and somebody had asked on the board.
I just used the term pull out.
I
and
know.
that wasn't
I know.
The,
come on now.
I'm not plugging anybody. So
we asked. It was asked on the board if there was coverage, and I can't answer that.
I think there is going to be some.
Okay, so hopefully it was still covered.
I had heard. I mean, that was of the Music City.
There wasn't a Macbeth chasing this weekend of finding where Macbeth was and then chasing him down. It was presented by Discraft, was it not? The event. Anyway, all right. Moving on, we saw another A tier, as you mentioned.
Another MCO, Music City Open 2019, sponsored by Dynamic Discs out of Nashville, Tennessee. In the open field, there were 74 competitors. We saw Chris Dickerson take this one home handily by 8 strokes over Kelvin Heimberg. So Chris Dickerson shooting 1048, 1040, 1038. So averaging, just over about 1042 probably. So just a hair above his current 1039 rating. Calvin also rated 1039, but unfortunately was not able to keep up with Mr. Dickerson. 3rd place, Jordan Castro. 4th place, Sam Lee. 5th place, Brian Earhart and Nate Perkins were tied at 14 under par. So congratulations on Chris Dickerson and taking home $1,165. Moving down to the open women field, Katrina Allen. When I said handily, that was nothing compared to what Katrina just put down. 16 strokes.
Whooping.
$640. She shot a 982, a 978, and a 980. So that's an easy one to figure out. 980 rated rounds over her 973. Missy Gannon shot a 1 under par. And Erica Stinchcombe, 4 over par. Lisa Fakis, 5 over par. And Kelly McMoran, 7 over par. So those were your top 5 in the open women.
Nice work. And a quick shout out per the Facebooks and Instagram. I also saw today Katrina left her ukulele behind, handed it off to Sarah Lamberson as Katrina was given that as her trophy. And Sarah Lamberson gladly accepted it. And then performed a song and sang for everyone today on her Facebook, playing said ukulele. So very, very cool.
That is pretty cool. Let's move over to the other MCO of the weekend, Mad City Open. Ale Asylum and Glass Nickel Pizza present the 27th Mad City Open PDGA A tier. Really? They have PDGA A tier in the name? It's kind of weird. I don't know if that's a mistake on the PDGA's part or if they just filled out whatever TD form and put PDGA A tier to promote that.
I'll leave it alone.
That's weird.
That's
weird. Anyway, that was out of Madison, Wisconsin, over here, about an hour from where we currently are. Two-stroke victory for Kale Leviska over Donnie Ferguson. Third place, Terry Roethlisberger. Fourth place, Keith Warren. Fifth place, Ben Calloway. So congratulations to those top five. Kale taking home $1,800 with Donnie taking home $1,200. So Kale shot ratings of 1038, 1043, 1029. So that's right around his 1030 rating, just a hair over. 1032, actually. There were only 4 in the open women field. Jessica Weiss, though, was able to handily take that one by 11 strokes over Holly Finley for $500. Third place, Ellen Widboom. Fourth place, Casey Pennington. So congratulations on that one for all of our MCO competitors.
Awesome. So those are, and it's an interesting time in that we're, of course, just a few days now ahead of the World Championships. Madison, for instance, Wisconsin to Peoria, you're talking 3.5 to 4-ish hours at most. Being down in Columbia, Missouri, you're probably talking, I don't know, maybe roughly that same distance. Nashville is probably a good 6 to 7 hours or so from Peoria. So a little bit of a spread here this weekend with, and Emerson actually spoke of this. When you have some of these A tiers that aren't necessarily part of a pro tour or a national tour, you find that our pros will just that spread out. And, they each had a good field, of course, but there wasn't one that was necessarily as deep or as stacked as what we'd find on some of our other weekends. And looks like there's plenty of love to go around throughout the weekend. And then, as I had mentioned, we'll be catching up with Paige Bjerkaas probably sometime in the next half hour to 45 minutes, hopefully. And we'll talk more about the Rocky Mountain Women's. One of the, I'll go ahead and say probably one of the highest paying B tiers, especially on the women's side. It was just incredible what they were able to do out there. And we'll spoil one little detail, and I don't know if you want to spend the 10 seconds to look for it, Johnny. There was an ace captured at the event this weekend that I got. It's out on my YouTube page, and a huge shout-out to my host, and then also his first-time catch cameraman, Jeff Hungerford.
That's not a bad thing to be the first-time catch cameraman and get an ace.
Yeah,
and he
it's
followed
not always
very
that
well.
easy.
Yeah, he followed it really well.
It's not like that every time you go out. He said,
maybe it is for Jeff.
First of all, Jeff, has retired from his professional career, and now we are seeing him literally all around the world. And so I'm in Thailand. He's now talking about maybe traveling more internationally, where we'll meet up with him. But he's played quite a bit. He's coming to Wisconsin in a few weeks, but he said out of the 18 holes that he was catch cam, as he experienced it and tried it out for the first time, he said that might have been the hole that I was the most dialed and or followed the best. And it happens to be the one that he got a hole in one, a hole 13. Yeah, very, very impressive. So thank you, Jeff, for making that happen. I'll admit, I was down I normally go to the catch on that hole. Third year being there, I should say. And I always go to the catch because it's a blind shot up a hill. And Jeff was already at that position, and I felt kind of rude, like, well, I'm not going to run up there and push him aside, to make sure that I do get it, because I don't know how good he's going to get it. And then sure enough, ace. And all I kept thinking in my head is, oh my God, I hope he got it, because I couldn't see it go in from the tee. And he did phenomenal. So very, very cool to see this weekend. The only thing that was unfortunate about it, getting that out in Colorado, mountain time, By the time I'm able to get it off the cameras, stitch the two videos together, there was no real hope for seeing it on SportsCenter that given night because it's already 7:30 or 8:30 Mountain Time. So unfortunately, not enough traction to get it onto a SportsCenter. But nonetheless, always awesome. Awesome to get an ace. That's the second time I've got an ace at that event. Paige Bjerkaas got one the first year I was there.
That's pretty cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Rocky Women's Disc Golf Championship
I
results.
could talk all day about it.
I know you can. We're going to go through a few of the divisions here to report winners. We're going to start, obviously, with the Open Women. Paige Bjerkaas, back-to-back winner. She shoots a 13 under par, besting the field by 10 strokes. She shot 966, 1,002, 969, so well over her 952 rating. Second place, Nicole Johnson, shooting a 3 under. Third place, Andrea Eaton, shooting a 1 under. We can move over to the Pro Masters Women's. We have Katrina Gold winning by 6 strokes over Lorena Dostal.
Katrina?
Or I'm sorry, Christina Gold. My bad. I apologize for that. Christina Gold over Lorena Dostal. And third place, Tavish Cardiff. So congratulations to the 3 women. And Pro Masters Women's 50+. Peggy Berry takes that one down by 3 strokes over Karen Sattler. Advanced women, 26 competitors. We saw Sammy Jo Guerrero shoot 6 over par, defeating the field by 8 strokes over Sarah Wales-Gorski. We're going to move down to Amateur Masters, women's over 40. Jenny Majeski by a single stroke over Leslie Chandler. So congratulations on that win. Amateur Masters women's 50+. Noami, the mom. Noami Bjerkaas. So Paige's mom. Congratulations. She wins that one by 2 strokes. Amateur Masters women's 60+. Carrie Broder. Intermediate women, 27 competitors. We see Lindsay Bonebreak. It's not a last name I want. Bonebreak. That doesn't sound like it's a very good omen. But congratulations.
And she lives in a skiing state, I tell you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna assume. I think she lives in Colorado.
Yeah, she does. She lives in Telluride, Colorado.
Yeah, exactly.
And she wins this division by 3 strokes over Britt Sawyer. Recreational women, Vanessa Meisner wins by 8 strokes over a different Vanessa Porterfield. Junior girls under 12, we have Haley Brannon winning by 4 strokes. Junior girls under 10, Allison Rebecca Miller, Mr. Miller's oldest daughter, wins by, she crushed the field. Both girls, Scarlett Bryan shot a 53 over. And in junior girls under 8, Mackenzie Lucy Miller wins by 8 strokes over Aurora Phillips. So we saw 2 Millers come home as champions, which I was spoiled with, bro.
Yeah,
on the Instagram from the airport.
You were waiting for the coverage.
I was waiting for the coverage, and you spoiled it. I'm a little upset about that. Either way, congratulations to all the winners, but obviously especially the 2 Miller girls.
Well, they had such a tremendous time, and I could echo it a million times over. The event is so special for so many reasons. The fact that we have 132 women, that there was a caddy, I believe, for every single woman, or pretty darn close to it, a caddy that pays to be a caddy. They actually submit an entry fee to so to speak. They get a shirt or 2, and then they get a pack of their own in terms of being a caddy, like a player pack or a caddy pack of their own, and special considerations that go along with playing the temporary course and all these other things. But all of the guys and women that are out there as caddies was just tremendous. And I want to say on the amateur side, I believe, I forget what the entry fee was, but they get, I want to say $45 in script or funny money to then go shop at a variety of places like the title sponsor in Discmania or Dynamic Disc, and then they get lunch on Saturday provided. It's just so incredible, the sponsorship and the work that goes into it, and that all goes to Ray and Kyle, and then all of the staff and the Mile High Club. It's just, it gives me chills thinking about, or goosebumps more so, thinking about the effort that goes into that event, and they make it special for everybody. It's really, really cool and exciting. So yeah, good stuff out there. And like I said, once Paige is available, we'll have her join us. Speaking of Jeff, who I know I mentioned a moment ago, and this kind of talks about our wonderful Patreon supporters. I was talking to Jeff this weekend as he hosted us just a few minutes from the course, and he said, Have you guys done stuff with Disc Member? Are you familiar with them? Do you work with them or know anything?" And I said, yeah. They graciously support us, support the show, and when they send us stuff, we, instead of me hoarding it, believe it or not, we turn around and usually just give it right back out to a Patreon supporter when we do our drawings. It's like, yeah, I got a box from them, and I don't really. I said, look at the box. It's from me because you won on one of our weekly giveaways. And then I sent you their box full of stuff. It's like, oh, okay. You hadn't even opened it. And Jeff, such a great support. Also great to see another big supporter of the event this weekend. And I know you guys see them out there supporting the Pro Tour and doing a lot of things. Night Eyes, a company that's based not too far from outside of Denver as well. Supporting the event in a major way, and it was great to see Night Eyes Dave out there for the weekend along with everyone else. So,
and we'll finalize our event wrap up tonight with the United States Junior Disc Golf Championships out of Jefferson, Vermont. So this is from Kids Disc Golf.
Yep.
The junior, we'll talk about juniors under 18. There were 21 of them. Elijah Bickle wins this by 6 strokes over Timothy Lutz. 3rd place, Zachary Mason Doyle. 4th place, Tom Shanley. 5th place, Robert Burridge. Junior girls under 18, only one competitor, Lily Marr. She shoots 25 over par. Her round ratings were 832, 839, and 832, above her 827 rated currently. Juniors under 15, Mike Behringer wins by a single stroke over Cole Redlin. 3rd place, Lucas Oberwitz-Hess. 4th place, Elijah Hogan. Junior girls under 15, Lily Ruthin wins by 8 strokes over Emma Party. Juniors under 12, Pete Kozlowski by a single stroke over Griffin Swinburne. I'm saying by a single stroke quite a bit, so these are some really good competitive rounds that we're seeing. Junior girls under 12, Skylar Poquette. I'm not even going to add that up. That was a large win over Alexis Julia Crivero. Juniors under 10, 5 competitors. Wyatt Mahoney wins by a single stroke over Uriah Kelly. Junior girls under 10, Aubrey Violet by 3 strokes over Rosemary Marr. Juniors under 8, Caden Bell by 16 strokes over Carter Graham. Junior girls under 8, Cascade Matoni was the only competitor, shooting 130 over par. Junior under 6, we saw Rivers Reese win this one by shooting an even, winning by 21 strokes over Asa Fonseca. I'm sure I just massacred that. And then junior girls under 6, Catherine Nunn Gage wins that division, shooting 124 over par. Her rating is currently 166. I want to see if she shot over her rating. I don't even know if they gave ratings. Yeah, I don't think they. I don't think they.
Depending on the tees and such. So
yeah, so I don't think they even gave ratings.
Well, and I know we've gotten a little feedback of people saying, well, I could do without you reading some divisional winners sometimes. I understand that it can sometimes feel a little long or dry, but at the same time, I always think about the excitement when people also come up to us at events and like, that was so cool that I took first in advanced grandmasters at this really big tournament, and you guys took the time to rattle it off. And there's a method to our madness.
There's a little bit of a method to the madness. You're right. I mean, to me, it's kind of the equivalent of when back in the day you'd open up the Disc Golfer magazine and look for your name in the results, and you're like, oh, there I am. I'm right there. Like, I took 3rd place. And we tend to try to stick to open men and open women, but there are some events, the big juniors events, the women's events, that we'll scroll through more of the names, just because I do think it's important that some of them get recognized, and we are trying to push and promote some of the divisions that maybe don't always get the bigger turnout. So that's kind of the thought behind the process.
And what I think is really exciting to kind of piggyback on that is, as you're reading off, and because I was so busy, I didn't get to pay attention to all of the other events going on around the country. But as you're reading off so many of those names, I'm recalling them because I, met them or worked with them either last year at the Junior Worlds or this year at Junior Worlds. Yeah, I know this might sound funny to some, but like Wyatt Mahoney is a household name to me because I've seen him at multiple junior events, and I've seen him winning and performing well. Very stand-up little gentleman, but just think, like in 2 or 4 or 10 years, those are all going to only grow as those household names and as those staples in our sport. So I think it's that much cooler to know that we've seen or mentioned or talked with some of these people as on their way up. I think there's a Drake song somewhere out there. But anyway.
There is someone on the board that had mentioned something about a bunch of people getting banned. I don't know if that's the correct word. Suspended is the correct word from the PDGA. And Scott Stokely's name was on there. Dave McCormick's name was on there. My understanding is that the PDGA right now is becoming very strict upon dues. And that's probably tournament dues that people need to pay. And you will be, if they'll give you a little bit of leeway, but at some point they just kind of cut you off and say, listen, we want our money. And if not, you're going to be suspended. So my guess is that's why you're seeing this. And my understanding is a couple other people had said that same thing happened to them. As soon as they paid up, they were no longer banned. So my guess is that there's probably just some accounting issues at this point that are being worked out and need to be spoken about, and that there's nothing really truly nefarious going on. It's just the PDGA kind of putting their foot down a little bit and saying, hey guys and gals, probably we need to be prompt and paid, so can we please get this taken care of? And that's more than likely why you saw a bigger influx this particular one of 15 people without. Normally if you hear a big name suspended, there's a story behind it that's not really,
that's a little out of the ordinary, or has a little meat on the bone.
Correct. And to think that a bunch of people got suspended and nobody heard anything about it, this is probably why, is what my understanding is. So that is the story behind that.
Yeah, and when and to just take that one step further, when you sign on to be a PDGA sanctioned tournament director, there's a whole list of, really a checklist of things that you're adhering to or you're agreeing to in terms of the reporting of the event, in terms of the money owed for the event, and all these different steps and a timeline in which everything should be done. And just as Johnny's saying, sometimes our tournament directors, they may submit a TD report and possibly submit the information and not submit the money that accompanies that. Or sometimes, and it happens less and less these days, I feel like, but sometimes they may not even submit a tournament report, and therefore things don't get posted at all. And that's when that's when the peer pressure really sinks in, because all of the competitors and the onlookers want to see what happened at that tournament. And if a tournament director is not on top of it, usually they get a little extra pressure more now than ever because of the instantaneous expectations that we have. And so get your money in, get your dues paid, or whatever it might be. I know it can be one of those kind of final hassles when you're exhaling from a big tournament and the work that goes into it, but hopefully you get all of that taken care of. So, all right, Johnny. So the news this weekend in terms of all these big events, and then we have a number of players that we didn't see out there competing in an event. I think of two of your front runners when it comes to talking about worlds, or more than two, I should say. I didn't see Paul McBeth playing this weekend.
No,
he didn't see Ricky Wysocki playing this weekend.
Ricky was originally signed up for Mad City Open, but I believe withdrew. And I don't know. He was doing a demo over in Madison as well. Madison has been a very popular location for a lot of our pros over the last couple of weeks. I don't know if it's just he's still healing up from whatever injury he had, or he just needed a break before Worlds and didn't want to.
I feel
dedicate.
like he was
probably
taking
safe.
Well, if you followed him on social, you saw him bowling with Kevin Jones, and you saw him ball golfing with Kevin Jones.
Okay, so maybe not so much taking it easy. Well, they're different muscles. I mean,
yes, but so I think he was maybe taking a break from the actual grind of the tournament atmosphere. He was also out there running. I think he said he was going to run every day before Worlds. I said that when I was 16, and I'm still working on that, Rick. So running every day before Worlds. See how well it turned out for me. Okay, anyway. So Rick, he was active, and I believe he was playing Northwood Gold at one point this weekend. I believe I saw him posting that. But Eagle, Rick, Macbeth, Kevin Jones, all Jeremy Coling, I think, made a post recently saying he's still a little bit on the mend from when he had wasn't feeling so great at the European Open. So a lot of our players, understandably, kind of taking a little bit easier this last weekend. Not all of them, but some of them taking it easy this last weekend. And now we're going to see them all kind of filter back over to the Peoria area. And we're going to see how that pans out. I don't believe I saw on the FPO side, we saw Katrina with that monstrous, margin of her victory this weekend, but I don't believe we saw Paige Pierce playing anywhere this weekend.
Correct. No Paige Pierce this weekend.
So, all right. Well, we'll see how all of that pans out. We'd love to know in the comments as to what you guys think. I know there's a lot of chatter on the board and a lot of conversation about the Worlds, and I think, just 7 days from now, we're going to be one round in to the World Championships. Come next Tuesday night, we'll have one round down. And dare I ask, Johnny, is there anyone that jumps out at you that you think is an, I don't want to say a shoe-in, but do you have a strong, hard front runner
for Worlds?
Yeah,
it's hard not to go with Macbeth. I mean,
okay.
Everybody he's on his game. And part of me, that's scary for a couple reasons. Scary for all the other players, but scary because you kind of feel like if he doesn't win, it's a letdown. And that's such a hard position to be put in, being the front runner. Because right now, he's the guy who's been playing the best over the last 2 months. If you want to go very short term, look at Kevin Jones. Kevin Jones just came out of Idlewild shooting very, very well. Ricky has been a little, I'll say, up and down for Ricky standards, which means top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Not always top 2, but ultimately, it's so tough to say. I mean, if I were making picks out on Skip Ace, I would be looking at someone like an Albert Tam, because he is shooting so hot right now, and he has such I'm going to throw it in quotes, a low rating. Mm-hmm. I think he's only just barely over 1,000, like 1,005 or something. And he would be a great sleeper pick to throw in there just based on how he's playing. But, he's also coming from overseas. There's going to be, quite a change in just environment and timing and just getting your body used to the
humidity.
The humidity. So I think anyone that doesn't think that Paul is the favorite to win is really, they're fooling themselves. And it puts a lot of pressure on Paul, because anything other than a win is going to feel like a defeat. A second place by 1 stroke, a tie by 10 strokes, is going to feel like a defeat and is going to be a letdown. So I do not envy being in his position right now, or any year for that matter, but more specifically this year, where he has been just shooting lights out. So I don't know. And then for FPO, I think you have to just, again, same thing, Paige Pierce. I think it might be close between Paige and Kat. I would love to see hopefully our guest later tonight, Paige Bjerkaas, come and put in a really good bid for it as well, being a returning champion, but there's a lot of pressure on her as well to compete. But right now, the way Paige Pierce is playing, if her putter is on, it's lights out for everybody else, I think. The only way the rest of the field keeps up with her is if her putter is off. Yeah, I can't think of another way, because I don't think any of them can really keep up with her on the off the tee. It's just the way she's playing.
Well, and I don't know how much of an advantage Pierce has, say, at Sunset, but it will be exciting to see. Unfortunately, not live, but it will be exciting to see as they attack the Northwood course and what kind of difference that makes, as we've heard so many people giving it the accolades and really enjoying and talking about it. And going out there and practicing it and giving it, like I said, these praises and reviews. It'll be interesting to see how the FPO goes out and tackles it and what that means to the scoring on that perspective. Of course, we saw, Paige and Katrina battle, essentially down to the final hole this last year at Ledgestone, but that was all playing at that Sunset course, which they've all played now for 3 or 4 years, relatively consistent. Throughout the last few years, not too many major changes out there for them. I think the Northwood course is where, and if I recall, Paige may have even said that at one point. I think maybe as we wrapped up the interview after she won Ledgestone, is that she's looking forward to that Northwood course. She feels like that's where the Worlds is going to be, ultimately decided, is what she felt like. So,
and that's a pretty wooded course. So the only thing I worry about Paige on that type of course is the power she tends to throw with. You can take a couple of really bad kicks if you're just off a little bit.
Sure.
And if, obviously anybody can, but the way Paige tends to throw with power, she could end up, it's very easy to turn a par 4 into a 6 or a par 3 into a 5. And some of the, I don't see Katrina do that very often, just because Katrina tends to throw with a little less power and maybe, I don't want to say a little more accuracy, because that would not be a valid thing, but just the power factor is there with Paige versus the rest of the field. But if she can keep it between the trees, lights out.
And as you mentioned, Paige Bjerkaas is going to be looking to defend her title, just like I saw this weekend, the longest hole on the course. Every other woman that she played with threw a driver. Paige Bjerkaas, dead center with her putter. It sometimes is out driving the rest of the group, throwing a putter right up the middle, keeping herself out of the left OB, keeping herself out of the right OB and trees, right up the middle. She took a birdie every time on the par 4, putter, 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 and walked away with a birdie every time. It was so that was, I feel like, some of the keys to her success last year for sure, and having that accuracy and being willing to club down and play for that accurate shot, keeping herself out of trouble.
And I think that could be a really good game plan at Northwood.
Mm-hmm.
That won't fly at Sunset. For Sunset, you have to get the birdies. You have to be able to throw and get those. You can't. There aren't a lot of places where you walk up and go, the smart shot here is to throw a putter. There's like 3 holes there where that is a smart move. I don't know so much about Northwood, but being a more wooded and longer course, that makes more sense. At Sunset, you have to get those birdies for the FPO field.
All right. Well, I apparently his ears were ringing. We were talking about Paul Macbeth a moment ago, and Paul, you guys are joining the show late, clearly, as he asked me if I'm going to shout out that he was at Ben Askren's. No, we already talked about it. And he says that he remembers when Ben maybe played in my tournament a few years ago, and has invited me also to come play at his course, as he lives, like I said, not too far away from me. So we already covered that. You guys are late to the show.
We'll make it a Smashbox thing. We'll go out there.
Yeah. So World's definitely exciting time. Of course, we're back into the thick of things of August last year. I think back to the last 2 years in that, in 2017, that was one of the earliest Worlds we've seen in 15 or 20 years, having it in June when we did. And then the following year, we go to the latest Worlds I've seen in the last 25 or 30 years for sure. I don't know if it's ever been in September, actually. So now we're right back in, like, we'll say the norm, which is usually early August, early to mid-August. So weather, humidity, we're in the Midwest. Could be 82 and low humidity. It could be 95 and high humidity. All of those things are very much going to be a factor as we go into next week in Peoria. I already mentioned that they extended the registration, but I think we're going to see the doubles will take place on Saturday. I believe all of the edge and the field events and such will take place on Sunday. Monday is a little bit of a just a catch-all day, check-in and such. And Monday night will be the players meeting, and then, of course, competition kicking off on Tuesday. So, all right, Johnny. What I think we could do, you're seeing an extended forecast.
Yeah, I'm looking at an extended forecast for Worlds, and it's obviously
a week away. I don't know if I
it's
trust
a little over
much,
a week away. Right now, it just basically says it's going to be warm, 86 to 90 degrees, partly sunny, and humid. So who knows after that? It's hard to judge a week away, but as of right now, it does not appear like we're looking at any inclement weather. Anything can happen in a week. We've seen that. So, but let's hope for those particular
conditions.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be that'd be all right.
We've confirmed a few things for Worlds today.
Uh-oh.
We talked with, we are going to have Dixon. I know we talked a little bit about last week. Dixon Jowers will be doing on the course reporting, kind of taking your job from what.
I can't wait to see the memes they make about him then for the sideline reporting.
He's going to be wearing a blonde wig.
Good.
And so he will be doing our on-site reporting. So we'll probably check in with him every few holes. We have confirmed that we are going to have Robert McCall for MPO rounds and Hannah Macbeth for FPO rounds. I'm fairly certain. Maybe. And then obviously each will be co-commentating with Terry. We've got, our 3 cameramen all lined up, and we're going to be, again, as we talked about last week, MPO, FPO, MPO, FPO, both. So that is the particular schedule for us each day.
Yeah. So as I was just mentioning, to specify, that means Eureka, Sunset, Sunset, Eureka will be the official order as those get played throughout the week. So the 5 rounds, do you foresee, and this is kind of just nothing more than chatter between us at this point, but do you foresee any changes to the World's format in the near future?
No.
As they very drastically went from like 23.5 rounds in a week down to 4. Okay, it was like 6.5 or 7.5, down to 4. We saw that a few years ago, and then they edged it back up now to 5. Do you think are we in the sweet spot?
I think we are in the sweet spot at this point. The only thing that I would maybe look at changing would be, because we're already going to do a cut for the 5th round. Maybe still a final 9. Like, that would be kind of cool. I just, clearly we're not doing one this year. A final 9 has always been, it's funny because it's always been unique to our sport, and it's always been kind of the crowning, the final, everybody's there. But we haven't done it now. It'll be 2 years for certain. I don't know what next year's plans are. So has that lost its luster for a lot of people? Do people even care anymore because it hasn't happened for 2 years? And if it doesn't happen next year, that's, you're going on a period where with the significant growth of our sport, a lot of people don't remember that stuff.
Sure.
We have so many more and new viewers that we, is something that was really awesome for 15 to 20 years. But we haven't done it for 3 years. Does anyone even care anymore? And I'm fine if they do. I'm fine if they don't. It's just it was unique. It was really fun, and it added an extra level of pressure for, I think, the round. You could argue whether it's fair or not for the guy who's in 4th place because he gets to run at everything. It would just depend really how close the scores were, because we had never really seen a Worlds where 4th place was ever in contention.
I don't know if to say in contention or not. I'm sure somebody in 4th will argue with that right now, whoever it might be. I don't know. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. I don't think of the scores. I was going to say, I don't know of how many times I can think about the person that was in 2nd that came back to win it. And I'm sure it's happened again, and I'm not trying to disparage anyone. I even think back to how close Paul and Ricky actually were in 2014 going into the Final 9. I think Paul might have been down at that time, or maybe he knotted up going into it, or maybe he was even 2 down. Whatever the case, what might be, we don't have a lot of stories of like, oh yeah, 2nd place came charging in on the Final 9 and then took it down. I don't know if we've ever seen that from a 3rd place position or 4th, as you just mentioned. Whether they've been in contention, I don't know, but I know we're not seeing that delivery. You're exactly right in that it was so unique to us growing up, seeing that Final 9 on the MPO, FPO, all the pro side and all the amateur side, and we're still seeing those on the amateur side, and even in the Pro Masters side. I don't know if I apologize. I don't know if they did it this year. I think they did. Yeah, they did. But we didn't. Yeah. So we've been seeing them in all the other divisions except for our top 2 professional divisions. Now, things have also changed as we somehow are getting older. That
speak for yourself. Being
in the Final 9 was such a bigger deal because there was an entire video that got released.
Wait a minute. I didn't get any older this week. You did. I did not get any older.
But there was an entire video that highlighted the final 9 holes, and it was on a VHS. It was so amazing. And now that's just clearly not the same, doesn't carry that same weight.
Well, until this year, we're doing a VHS of Worlds.
We should. A retro VHS. Oh, that would be fun. Maybe we'll have a special release, Smashbox exclusive, something like that. So maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't. I don't know who the powers to be that we need to talk to. There's always been mixed reactions when it comes to Final 9s at Worlds or Safari rounds or Skins rounds, depending on what event it is. Yeah, and these aren't just the Worlds, of course. There's always some mixed reactions from the players, whether it's meant as a spectator or a spectacle for the people in attendance, and they're just players are going out and showing off and throwing crazy shots, or is a world title on the line. Obviously those are...
A world title is on the line.
Well, I know, but I'm saying when you're talking about playing and having a Final 9 or 9 extra holes or Safari holes or whatever, there's a lot of different implications, and they just all apply differently as to what the players do or don't like.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I definitely don't think you play a Final 9 unless there's something on the line. Okay. And you don't just go out and have an exhibition for the top 4 guys. There's no point in that. The event, if the event's over, the event's over. That's how I feel. You're not going to get these guys. There's no point in trying to get these guys out there to drag them around for 9 more holes. I want those holes to matter. I want them to be competitive. I don't want them.
You mean like the Rainwater Raz round?
Correct. Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. Is
like Worlds is a different beast. You don't crowning the winner is the end. Not, unlike other events where you can go and have a final, a final Raz round, a fun thing. At Worlds, when the competition is over, it's over.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
You don't nothing afterwards. Which is why last year, I believe this year they switched back the doubles to before the event, because last year I think it was after the event.
No, it wasn't.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because there was some talk. Was it 2 years ago that the mixed doubles was after the event, and it got like very little. I'll have to go back and look, because I thought it was
2017. It was I believe just after the event.
Okay, it was 2017. It was after
when
it
was in.
And did it get? And nobody wanted to play it. From my understanding, I believe there was complaints that people were like, "Worlds is over. Like, I don't want to go out and play this round."
Sure.
So moving it now before the event, you're going to get more. It's another chance to practice and be competitive before a round. It just makes way more sense. Everybody wants to just decompress after Worlds, and I would never want to throw anybody else out there again if it was meaningless.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Wow. Well, we're not on Smashbox to hear your opinion. Okay, ladies and yeah,
minute.
all right,
Yeah,
I
we
guess
are.
maybe.
A little
We
bit.
have to once in a while. All right, well, we're going to close out the regular show. We're going to let Paige Bjerkaas headline, essentially, our after show.
Oh, cool.
You like that idea? I just came up with that on the spot. Unless you have other stuff you want to talk about before we close this portion of the show out.
No.
Check your notes?
No, I'm good.
You're good. Okay. Well, as I said, we're going to close out the regular show. We're going to then have Paige join us. Hopefully, we had exchanged a message or two. Hopefully, that'll be coming up sometime soon. And we'll get her in here, and she can full-blown headline our after show, which is always fun to do. So we're going to close it out. We want to, of course, thank Emerson, Keith, and Mackenzie for joining us here tonight.
Little Charlie.
And little Charlie as well. I hope we didn't...
And officers.
Yes.
The officers as well.
Everyone that
There's
was...
got to be a better story. We need to find out more about what was going on there at some point.
He was almost a little too nonchalant.
Just when he's... And then every time he was looking over and we're talking, I'm like, is he looking at the cops? Or is he, like, looking at Mackenzie? I don't understand what was going on.
I don't know. Maybe he's not leaving town to go to Worlds. Maybe he has other obligations. Possibly locally. Who knows? Anything's possible. All right, again, so for Emerson and Mackenzie and Charlie, thank you guys for joining us. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been podcast episode 259. Stick around. We're going to have Paige Bjerkaas. We're going to talk a little bit more about Rocky Mountain Women's and her charge to defend her title at the World Championships coming up just next week. Again, this has been 259. We'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SmashBoxxTV podcast 259 after show. Here we are, Terry and Johnny, and I think we are just moments away from our world champion, Paige Bjerkaas, joining us. We've had official communication. It sounds like she's hopefully going to be ready to go. I'm just going to fill some time in. Well, what are we going to talk about, Johnny?
I got to play a round of golf this weekend, or yesterday.
Yeah.
With one of our Smashies, Joe. He was in town, over in Madison, actually, volunteering for the big CrossFit games that happen there. And so he came over here to Milwaukee to visit his grandmother, who's from West Allis. And so we got to get a good round in, walked up to hole one, and ran into a friend of ours, Pat Hamill, who just happened to be standing there. And I walked up, and then Joe came up, and I actually it was fun. I got to play around. It's been a while since I, had a chance to throw down some discs and try out. I got to throw the TI Undertaker a little bit more and enjoyed. I'm liking that for the few holes I really got to got to throw it, but it was a fun round over at Root River Parkway, and yeah. So
Was it Joe or Tim?
I think it was Joe. Did I?
I don't recall. I apologize. I was not available. I was actually.
I'm sorry. You're right. Tim Donegan.
Okay,
not
that's
Joe.
what I thought.
I was thinking Joe.
I was lost for a moment.
I was thinking Joe W. Because I had some communications with him a while ago. But no, Tim Donegan.
Yes.
So
okay, awesome.
Yes.
Just want to get our smashy straight.
I'm sorry about that, Tim.
No, it's
as I was looking at something else. Yeah. So Tim Donegan and I got a chance to play, and he's.
How many did he beat you by?
I think.
One
or
dozen?
Two. No, God, no, one or two.
Oh, okay. So you take him to your home course.
That, of course, I've played twice, I think, in the last 2 years.
Whatever. And he whooped your...
And it was hard because I know he took a couple extra putts, and I don't know what his score was. I think I shot 5 over par. And the course is set up relatively... Some holes were long, some were shorter. I think we each got like 2 birdies, and I went OB once or twice, and there was no official scorekeeping, but if I had to take a wild guess, it was probably by 2 strokes. He's got a really, really good forehand, so it was fun to watch that. He pured some lines in the first couple holes that I was definitely not. But my putting felt really good. I think I putted just a little bit better than him, and I accidentally outdrove a 330-foot hole by about 60 feet.
Dang!
So I crushed one. Got a hold of it. Some guy comes walking up and he's like, "What did you throw?" I was like, "I was like a lucid trespass." He's like, "It was going so slow, but it went far." And I'm like, "That's because I don't have a very big arm, and I just happened to get a hold of one, and I didn't even get the birdie on it because I outdrove it."
Wow, you're like a regular Emerson Keith over there.
No, not at all. That was all of it. I had to throw it almost as hard as I could because I couldn't take a hyzer out at it, so I kind of had to flex one, and I just overflexed it. So, should I see if we can dial up Paige?
Yeah, it
here?
looks like she says, okay, the computer I'm on does not have Skype, so I'm using my phone. That hopefully will work just fine, actually.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Assuming she's on some Wi-Fi and or has some decent signal.
And some headphones. We always recommend headphones for people. So that was the issue with Emerson, and I was riding the mute a little bit for when we were asking questions, so the first couple seconds were getting a little feedback, and then it would die down. So
yeah, that's actually a Skype feature, dare we say, right?
Correct. It is a Skype feature. So I just dialed up Paige. What was that?
Go ahead and try her again.
All right.
She says that her computer's not firing up with it, but hopefully her phone is. Or we'll get her to... Okay, maybe not.
It says no, thank you. What's going on the board? Do we have anything out there?
It looks like Ray has been pretty active out here on the board. I think Ray and I, didn't we talk? Oh, no. Did I see Ace Run Productions? Skipping over you, Ray. Ace Run has jumped in here with a super chat. The countdown to 1,000 subs on our YouTube is on. Thanks for all the support. Thank you, Terry and Johnny, for all you do. And I know Ace Run Productions has reached out to us, and I have committed to the idea of, sorry, I don't have the info in front of me, but he's running an event, and I'm definitely going to be making a contribution for the event. So thank you, Ace Run, and hopefully you can get some.
There we go. I think that's why maybe
there.
She wasn't showing up on my system, because I think this is a different.
Skype.
This might be a different Skype account. Than
all
what
right.
we've seen
If she
before.
wants to rotate her phone one turn, it'll probably switch and it'll fill the screen perfectly.
Or not. That's okay. We can.
All right. Maybe that one. You can go ahead and put it.
Yeah,
go
that's
ahead.
fine.
Push it back, Paige. And with that, no, all good. With that, in our digital Disc Baron Digital Green Room, coming to the show, Paige Bjerkaas. Hi, Paige.
Congratulations. What a great win this weekend.
Thank you so much. I feel pretty good about it.
You are, as noted, you are the first ever 2-time Rocky Mountain Women's Champion now. The first, and now the 6th year champion. That's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. I remember, my dad is the one that came up with the tournament and was the original tournament director with Ray Woodruff. And, you know, to see him work so hard on it that first year and how much he put into it, and to win that first one for him was awesome. And then to be the repeat just is so much better, just because I know the work that goes into it and what my dad really envisioned for the tournament, and for it to kind of succeed and me like win it at the same time. It was just super cool.
Yeah, so I've been there for the last 3 years, and I've been blessed to see and partake of Purple Park out there in the town of Superior. Just the most gracious host, and just really an honor to be on such a beautiful piece of land. Where were the first 3 years when that's when it was run year after year after year? But where were those first 3 years?
So the first year was at this course on a disc golfer's mansion. So this disc golfer had a lot of money, and he had 18 holes on his property. So we played that the first year, and it was super cool. You know, it was really fun shots, like tee off on top of a building, down to close to water, throwing on islands, like just kind of super gimmicky but fun. You know, it was a women's tournament, and there was like a ton of different cool shots. So that was the first year. The second year, man, I don't really remember. I think at Colorado Heights University and Ruby Hill, and the Ruby Hill was a temp course. Just this beautiful park in downtown Denver. I remember the pictures taken of that tournament had the city skyline in the background. It was super awesome. And then I think the third year was just Colorado Heights University. And my dad actually worked on that campus, and he designed the 18 holes.
Okay. So it's rotated the first few years, and then as long as they'll keep having all of us, like we said, that the town of Superior there, I mean, what a gorgeous piece of property.
Oh, I know. I love it. It's so scenic, and the holes are fun, and you know, the support from the community just makes it that much better, because, you know, they're rooting for us, and they're glad that we're there, and, you know, in their town, helping the economy and all that stuff. So it's a special place.
You know, I'm always, I try to be as big of an advocate as I possibly can for all women's golf, not just FPO, but all women's golf. And I've been to a number of our most popular or largest women's only events. What are some of the other events besides this one and the U.S. Women's that you've attended? Can you speak to other ones?
Yeah, I played Daisy Chains one year, and that was amazing. That was played at Pinto Lake in California. Oh, that was a fun event. I liked it. I liked the course. I liked just the, you know, all the feelings of all the women playing, and there was, you know, super competitive all the way to just some juniors playing in their first tournament. Like, just such a fun experience. The payout was good, and I know Beth, the TD, works very hard, and it really shows during that tournament. And the other really Rocky Mountain Women's, and that one are really the only ones. I did play in a women's global once, and it was held at a course in Colorado Springs. So those are the only ones I've played.
Okay, and we know, you know, aside from all the ones that I just mentioned in Phoenix and Daisy Chains, we know Texas has some great ones. Wisconsin, our Sparkle sister, Jenny Sanfilippo, and then over in Michigan, the Disc Girls Gone Wild has been running for many, many years. A lot of people also talk up that one, along with we just saw this 2 weeks ago, Sarah Hokum and a bunch of the crew were over in Ohio. Ladies of the Lake, I believe, is yet another one, and there's a lot of them, so pretty awesome. What when you see this weekend as being a busy one, we saw people in Tennessee for an A tier. We saw Madison, Wisconsin with an A tier. Then we also saw the juniors event. Was it just the timing that made the Rocky Mountains a no-brainer for you to be out in Colorado and visiting family and friends?
Yeah, that was a big part of it, just getting to spend time with family here. But, you know, I've played every single Rocky Mountain Women's, and I love supporting the event. And because my dad started it, I mean, I value it a lot. Like, you know, Dynamic Discs, I don't think would have noticed how good of a, you know, organizer he was if he didn't run Rocky Mountain Women's, and how they saw that success. So honestly, I think that tournament kind of changed my dad's life, you know, kind of took in a different course. So I just love that event. I love supporting it. And honestly, no matter how far away it is, I would probably never miss the event, except if it was for like if Worlds was that same week.
Sure.
But,
Which hopefully, if Ray and Kyle and I continue to also all have a working relationship, we're always, I'm going to always try and be there to support it as best as I can as well, because I've seen all the amazing things that they've done. So here we are. You and I talked about it a little bit this weekend, but your schedules, you've got a lot on your plate before you go and try and defend your world title. What can you share with everyone over the next few days?
Dang. Yeah. So I'm getting married in a couple months, and I went to go get my dress altered, and they made an appointment for me 4 weeks later to make sure it fits right. And of course, 4 weeks later is August 9th, which is this Friday. And they're pretty like stern on, you need to come, you can't come any sooner, and you can't really come any later because they're super booked all the time. So I have to stay in Emporia until Friday, and then we're driving out Saturday and only having 2 days of practice. So I'm a little stressed, but I'm only getting married once. I really care about this, so
that's a good thing. But you're right. There'll be many more worlds for you to compete in, that you'll be able to focus all of your energy on. Especially, you're marrying another disc golfer, so it works out very well that way. So
are you, when you're thinking about the worlds and the prep that you're going to be doing? You have played Sunset. We've seen that on the Pro Tour and the Ledgestone event the last few years. Is Northwood, that's where we were talking about that quite heavily earlier. There's been a redesign to Northwood. What have you either learned or prepped for or thought about, or is it going to be all fresh to you when you show up on Saturday or Sunday?
I know they changed Northwood. I remember some of the wooded holes already from, the previous years, because, there was a lot of open holes on that course, but there were also a lot of wooded ones. So I kind of already have an idea of what the course is going to look like and kind of what shots it requires. And then like recently, pros are starting to get there and they're taking pictures of the fairways, and they all just look like tight wooded shots. So my game, I'm probably going to be throwing a lot of putters.
We were just talking about that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like one of the strengths of my game. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the opportunity to compete on a course like that, where you really have to hit your lines.
Now, that brings me to two thoughts that I mentioned you earlier. One, let's quickly touch on your mother this weekend. You were out there. You talk about it being a family-centered event with your dad, but then your mom competing. You got to watch her play, and ice in her veins, right? Taking it down, hole 18.
Absolutely, man. It was crazy. We showed up on hole 15, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, what are the scores?" Because my dad is caddying for Mom, and he said, "Well, she's only back 2." And so the next couple holes, she like hits clutch shots or made good putts or good up shots to like gain one on her. And so hole 17 comes around, Mom throws OB, she's playing against Lisa Gallagher. Lisa stays safe, but then her up shot goes OB. My mom makes this clutch shot to land in a small landing zone, and then she gets up and down. And it was tied going into hole 18. And the round before, my mom took a bogey on it. It's a kind of a hyzer over the water, and I think she hit the tree and it rolled OB. And so, I think she was kind of nervous about what happened the first round. And so she just took a deep breath and, made the correction she needed to and parked it. It was such a beautiful shot. She was like maybe 8 feet away. And her competitor threw a good shot too, but it was just a little deep and like skipped off like a metal railing thing, and she ended up missing a putt. So my mom came in super clutch, and it was so fun to watch and to like be there telling her like, "What are you doing? What do you think you're gonna throw? Are you gonna play safe? Are you gonna be aggressive?" And it was so much fun.
Yeah, that's and for those that don't know, I know we didn't get to this specific, but at this event, the last couple of years, including this year, a handful of divisions will play one round on Friday, one round Saturday, one round Sunday. And then like your intermediate players and a few other divisions will play 2 rounds on Saturday, and then they're done and just play those 2 rounds. And then some of the newest divisions, whether it be the juniors and I think maybe even the rec women, I believe, just played one round on Saturday. So the event obviously completely tailored toward women, but then even tailoring it toward their experience and probably their, I don't want to say attention span, but to their level of involvement, in terms of the pros playing 3 rounds all the way down to the juniors play 1 round. And, it feels like it's really tailored to those individual divisions. Pretty cool format for sure.
Absolutely. You can tell they've been studying and seeing, what women want as, each tournament or each year it's ran, it goes on. And you can see how much it's growing and like what they're learning and how open they are to feedback. They're always like, what can we change? What can we change? What we want to see this grow. What do you guys want from us? And so you can just tell they actually care. And sometimes that's, not very common in disc golf.
It is. And I think I'll save, I got a very heartfelt message that came in from a competitor this weekend, and she had some really, really amazing points and things to talk about. Maybe I'll save it for another week, some of her details talking about how we can help grow and expand the women's field, the support that she feels like maybe isn't always there from, whether it be from media or from some of the individuals and whatnot. And of course, she didn't have anything to say negative about the event, but she just was echoing some really good thoughts that I want to bring up and talk about in an upcoming episode for sure, because I feel like some of it really hits home. And she even went as far as talking about, how some of our commentators, handle situations and how our women's divisions are referred to or talked about. And she just had some amazing feedback. So I thought that was great. Now, earlier I talked about what you just said, which was throwing your putter, playing for that accuracy, but yet I think of hole 17, the longest hole on the course, the only par 4 at this event. It's not so much that it was a wooded shot, but getting it in bounds is definitely a feat in itself off of that tee. And here I'm watching you throw a putter, and sometimes out driving some of the drivers in your group, which is where does that accuracy? How are you practicing your putter shots, both with accuracy and distance? Like, what do you do to be so dialed in on those?
Dang, I throw them a lot. It's, almost every tournament, every player has a straight 150, 200, 250 foot shot. Like, that's just how disc golf is, and that's what the holes look like, especially for a lot of the women. We can't reach some of the holes. So, every opportunity I have, I just love that straight route. And so getting the reps in during tournaments obviously helps a ton, because you're practicing under the pressure and executing well and kind of learning from your mistakes. But, in the field, I always start with my putters. I'll throw my putters back and forth a couple times, focus on, the certain types of judges I use, and, do standstills, do full run-ups, do 50%, 75%, and just, throwing putters is my favorite part of the game. And I'm so happy that I've learned it, because obviously it's helped me a lot in the sport. So being able to practice it and actually enjoy it, makes a lot of difference. I practice putting, and it's definitely not as fun as like puring a putter shot and learning, how hard, how high, like what angle. It's fun for me. It's like, a game, disc golf is a game, but this is like another game.
If that's what keeps you entertained and then keeps you
focused,
excited and focused, all of those things, that's it's awesome to see it. Here we are. If you fast forward 1 week, we're going to be 1 round into the World Championships, which means, of course, you're chasing that repeats. But reflect a little. I mean, it's
been a year.
It's been a year, almost a full year, of you being a world champion. When you look back at this last year, what has that meant for you? What has that changed, internally or externally? What has that world championship title meant to you?
I don't know. It just means everything. It's the most prestigious title, anyone can have in the sport. And it's awesome to think about. And it's really helped me get through some, rough times. I haven't played super well this whole year. And so, when I'd have those moments of feeling like defeat and like, wow, you suck, I can reflect and be like, you know what, you have that title. Like, there's no expectations for you to perform perfectly. Like, you executed when you needed to, the most important week, and that shows for something. And, my consistency of hopefully performing on top, like the Cat, the Sarah, the Val, it's going to come with time and the more experience I have. So it's helped a lot with my mental game almost, because it's kind of a boost. Like, you might have shot way below your rating, but you have a world title. It's kind of funny to joke about.
Absolutely.
You're like, okay. But
Well,
and since then, like, just like physically, I guess, like, so many people know who I am and they want my autograph and they want to talk, and so that's been super awesome. And getting to meet so many people and be someone that young girls look up to, and how that's kind of been coming up as well, has just made me feel so grateful that I did win and I had the opportunity to, and I was able to succeed, and just kind of carry me through the day, I guess.
well, there's one thing you're the undisputed world champion of, and that is definitely the autograph. I mean, you have the smoothest,
Pristine.
just best
Really?
looking. Well, I mean, I see a lot of signatures on discs, and
That's true.
when I see yours on a disc, I'm occasionally asked, not nearly as often as you, but when I see yours on a disc, I'm like, it is such just a beautiful signature that's fully legible, and you know exactly who it is, and it definitely stands out all the time when I see it on a disc. So now you just got to get used to writing that little 2X by it.
I know.
Find a place to put that.
I'm excited.
So this last year, having this title, do you feel like there were new opportunities that presented themselves? Of course, you had people, and more people knew you and such. But do you feel like there were maybe a few additional opportunities that, as people referenced you as the world champion, and then something else came in addition to that, or a benefit, or a bonus, or the extra wink or nudge to get a little special treatment, anything like that?
Yes.
You can admit it.
Yeah,
You get that you get the nice chair at Radius, and you don't get the wobbly one.
Yeah. No, I mean, it obviously has its perks, and I'm just grateful, that everything happened the way it did.
Any pressures? I mean, you said you're really busy. You have this tremendous, awesome, life-changing experience just a few weeks after in the marriage. But you feel there's any extra pressure, or trying to defend?
I mean, yes and no. I'd say yes a little bit, because number one, it's like, I might not have an opportunity like this, and like Paige and Kat have never won back to back,
Mhm.
and if I don't win this year, I have to go win another 2 years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's this perfect opportunity to be like, Kat and Paige haven't done this yet, and I was able to achieve it.
Mhm.
So I think there's that, because it's like a cool opportunity. But other than that, like, this whole tour, this whole season, I've had my ups and downs, but I'm here to, it proves that I'm here to be consistent and stuff. And just because I don't win this one doesn't mean I'm not going to win the next one, or the next NT, or, anything like that. So honestly, I don't really have that much pressure. I'm just like still proud of how far I've come. It's been a long season, and it's my first tour. So I've, learned a lot and have like ups and downs. So just it all happens for a reason, and I'm just going to be grateful no matter what. And I'm here to prove that, maybe I might not win this year, but I'm probably going to win another year. Like, I'm coming. All these experiences that I'm experiencing now are going to build up to my next one. So.
Do you? I mean, we've talked about, of course, Paige has had a phenomenal year. Paige, the other Paige, is how we refer to her around here. The other Paige, she's had a phenomenal year. Kat just had a great performance this last weekend. But do you ever concern yourself at all about, how good of a year, or the kind of momentum somebody else might be having as you enter into a week like this? Do any of those things cross your mind, or do you even worry about any of that?
They do cross my mind, only well, I mean, yes, it does cross my mind, because obviously they've both been playing like crazy good, but that's what's happened the last 5 years of our sport. It's like been those two. So, but I still am worried about my game. And so if I play great, and Paige and Kat play better, cool, like they deserved it. But I'm just, again, trying to focus on me and my experiences and my growth, and, take it. And, if I don't play good, it's not the end of the world.
How you said you're coming into Peoria and you're going to get about 2 days worth of practice.
Mm-hmm.
What about Grady? Like, what is he on that same schedule as you? Is he getting there earlier? It's clearly.
Will the dress fit him? I mean,
he's had to get a tux fitting. Did he have to let it go a little bit? I mean, but I mean, do you think about at all, or what's the plan with his game and the wedding and everything that goes along with what you're thinking about in the wedding? You know, is he as concerned as you?
Yes, he is. We both have not been playing to our best ability recently. So we both know that we are busy, and like, we're going to practice. It's still our job. We're still focused on getting the reps in and practicing as much as we can while we're juggling everything. So both of us, him as well as me, we both are like, yes, like, we shouldn't have super high expectations. We're going through a lot, but we have put in the work, the practice. It's not like we're slacking on practice. It's just we're just juggling more. So maybe that's why our game isn't as good right now. But we've been practicing, so we're both of us are like, well, again, we have been busy, but we have practice, so we're going to put in all the practice that we put in is going to pay off. And I don't know, we're kind of in the middle. Again, I think we're both just grateful for everything, and we're both super excited about the wedding, and we just have a lot of other things on our mind.
Yeah, it feels like we're more stressed about it than you are when it comes to the world. So if you've got it under control, we're gonna trust your judgment for sure. We're super excited. Format, I will say though, we talked about the format earlier. 5 rounds this year, in playing, rotating between Sunset and the new Northwood course. How do you have any thoughts on just the format in general? We kind of had our own private, not so private discussion about final nines and that kind of stuff. But how are you feeling about the format?
I think 5 rounds is enough. Like, that really shows who's consistently doing well. Not the best players don't always start the hot round, so I think it eventually evens itself out by the 5th round. And adding another final 9 just shows again who has the most stamina. So I love final 9s, but that's because when I started watching Worlds, there were final 9s, and I got to follow along some of them when I competed as a junior. But also I understand, like, it should be 5 solid rounds, who stays consistent, and the galleries will come no matter what, I guess. So I'm fine with it.
At your young age, you almost sound old school like us, as we were saying the same thing about the final 9s at the World Championships, and what that always kind of, that extra prestige that went along with making it into those final 9s. It's something that's been really cool in our sport that we've seen. And when do we go back to? 2010 was your junior world title in Ohio, right?
Yes.
You and Ricky Wysocki, and did a Seppo were you guys all junior world champions that year?
I'm pretty sure. Yep.
Does that feel like a long time ago or no?
Absolutely. Man, like, Worlds last year felt a long time ago. I feel like as I'm getting older, everything is like, ugh. But it's been crazy.
Trust me, you're at that age where that does feel like a long time ago. And then for me, for whatever reason, 1998 doesn't feel that long ago to me, and it is. I look at it and I go, I pulled out a polo the other day. It said 1998 or 97 Fox Valley Open, and I was like, oh my God, this shirt is 25 years old. Like, it was just last week, I swear.
Oh, man. Mm-hmm.
What is, in terms of your support system? Obviously, Grady's going to be there playing. Last year, your parents were there at Smuggler's Notch. This year, will we see your parents in attendance? Are they going to be you disking or caddying, or what's their plan?
I think their plan is to go up for either Friday and Saturday. It goes to Saturday, right, or is it Sunday?
Saturday.
Yep. So I think they're either going to be there for Friday and Saturday, or just Saturday. But they wanted to come for sure at least one of the days, especially the last day. So we'll see them, not the whole time, but for a chunk of it, and I'm grateful for that. So.
Yeah, and I think about obviously how much, you mentioned how maybe Rocky Mountain Women's, even for the better, altered the course of your dad's career path and your entire family moving to Emporia. I was talking to your mom this weekend, and she kind of echoes some things I've said in that she said, when you work in disc golf, you don't go out and play. Everyone thinks, you're obviously your dad and your mom working with DD. You're not playing 18 holes every day after work. Like, you're doing so many other things where maybe you even need a break or you have other obligations where life in disc golf's great, but it's not all just birdies every day.
Yeah, absolutely not. He works hard, and he does his best at his job, and so does my mom. And they rarely play. They are just always so tired at the end of the day, and I don't blame them. But luckily, every time I'm in town, they sacrificed an evening of relaxation to go play like Hammond with me or Peter Pan.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to let you get going here pretty soon. You are still in Denver area, right, with some family, and now you guys are going to be making the trek back to Emporia over the next day or two. Is that right?
Yep, we're leaving tomorrow morning, hoping to get into Emporia no later than 3 p.m. so that we can take advantage of the sunlight that's left and do some field work and putting.
There you go. You got anything you'd like to say? Sponsor shout outs or anything at all as we were about to let you go?
I actually have I have one question.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
Wedding cake. Have you guys made a decision on the wedding cake?
Like the flavor of it?
Yeah.
Or like what it looks like?
Both.
Yeah, the baker, we gave her some ideas, so she's working on it. I don't really know what it looks like yet, but we like the plain, simple white design. But the different tiers have the different flavors. So my favorite cake is red velvet. Oh, I love me some red velvet cake. So that's going to be, I think, the biggest layer. And then I think it's just regular white and then like blueberry lemon or something like that. We wanted to do a variety for our guests.
We did the same thing with different layers and different flavors. We had our own little personal cake, which was a red velvet, because that's my wife's favorite. So,
and dare we ask how themed either the wedding or probably more so the reception? Do we have a huge disc golf influence there, or not so much? Or is there going to be baskets everywhere?
No disc golf in this one. Our venue has like some yard space, so we'll put out a basket and leave some putters in case like during cocktail hour people want to putt, or I don't know. Disc golfers love throwing frisbees, so but nothing in the decorations and stuff. Disc golf is like 90% of my life, so, and I'm pretty girly. Like, I'm a pretty girly person, so my dream wedding has never consisted of having recruits at every table, just, flowers and doves, and as girly as it gets. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, give us some sponsor shout outs or whatever you'd love to let everyone know about. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So Dynamic Discs, as always, best discs ever. They make the judge. Best disc ever. Team Keen Footwear. It's my first year being sponsored by them, and I'm super honored. Check out their Terradoras. And then Team Truly Unique from Kansas City, Derek Brooker, super awesome guy. He supported me since my freshman year of college. So thank you to them. Hi, Dad. I bet he's watching right now. I doubt he's not. I'm sure he's sitting there smoking a cigar, watching the live broadcast. And just thank you guys for having me, and wish me luck for Worlds.
Well,
we'll be watching. We'll be recording and filming for everyone to see. As we said, earlier tonight, we're going to have 3 rounds of FPO coverage, so I'm excited to see all the competition in that division.
Awesome.
Should be great.
Thank you.
All right, Paige. Well, it was awesome seeing you this weekend, you and your family and the extended, Colorado family. Such an amazing community for that event and for the entire state. And, of course, congratulations to you and your mother and your super caddy dad and your caddy Joel. Joel
yep.
as well, as he's been there for all of your Rocky Mountain Women's and first time ever repeat champion. So, all right, Paige, have a great night. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in about 4 or 5 days.
Sweet. Bye.
All right. Bye. Have a good night, Paige. All right. So, just a few nights left for her to sleep on that World Championship title from 2018. And that quest.
She has until Saturday. She officially, and
yeah.
if she's lucky, another year, or I don't want to say lucky, if she's good, another year. If she, it's
clearly she's got all of the skills and tools to do it. And, I know we've been talking a lot about Northwood. If that putter is true and in the fairway all of the time, she's going to pick up strokes on the field. There's no question about it. So, again, thank you to everyone involved and all of her support. If you're in the Paige Bjerkaas support network, you're among the best of the best out there. Just she's so amazing, and everyone that supports her and has been cheering her on all along the way has been great. So, all right, Johnny, I see is lining up our Patreon giveaway. We've got some stuff I'm going to try and get caught up on before I leave Worlds. Worlds. We'll have a few extra.
I got an email
Mm-hmm.
or a message from someone, Lance Perkins, who I believe last week had said, "I heard my name, but I didn't get an email. So what's going on?" And I was like, well, I sent it to Terry, and
But did you?
I did.
Really?
I did. I sent you an email.
Did you send me his email though?
I believe I did.
That's where I think we have a disconnect.
Oh, maybe I'll check.
Because you could send me names all day, but I can't get his.
I understand.
I can't get his address from him if I don't know his email to ask him.
I'm gonna look after I update to our newest Patreon.
All right. Well, you do that, and I'm gonna read a few questions off the board as always after show. Dare I say this one was almost a semi-serious one tonight, getting our headliner in Paige Bjerkaas. So great to give her.
I want more wedding details.
I have a few, but I am not at liberty to share.
That's the type of thing. I mean, we can talk disc golf, and we're gonna get some fun stories and stuff from Paige, but I think the more interesting story right now is the wedding. I want to know. I want to know all the details. I want to know if they picked out songs to dance to. I want to know what is Grady's influence and input, because I know when I was helping to plan mine, I basically told my wife, I said, "Hey, don't come at me with like 12 suggestions for things. Like, you want tablecloth colors? Come at me with 2. I'll pick the one I like, and then you'll pick the one you like, and that's the one that'll go on. If I'm lucky, we agree. But I want to know. I love to know all that stuff. I want to know the behind the scenes, the personal details. Hopefully we'll get her on again, and then I'll be able to ask.
For those, I don't know if some of you are super stalking or not, but she is. They are slated to get married in the end of October. So I know there may have even been some confusion because we were obviously talking quite a bit about the wedding, and then where her maybe some of their prep or mind and such is at. But the wedding is going to be near the end of October, and obviously Worlds starting next week. So I guess that's worth clarifying. Some people were wondering if she was going to be at Worlds or not or whatever. Johnny and I have not seen the Northwood Gold course either. We have not seen the new changes. In fact, there was an opportunity that was at one point presented and on the table of working with Paige Pierce to go out and actually get a little course preview when we were at Ledgestone. The problem is it kept raining or had a thunderstorm or a storm after the rounds, and so that never fully developed as we were planning on. So unfortunately that didn't happen. So I did not see the new Northwood Gold. Again, all the way dating way back to Dynamite a few weeks or months ago, saying that the changes were great. So we'll have to see as it unfolds throughout the week. But I have not personally seen the actual course. Terry and Johnny V, have you played? No, I'm sorry, I just covered that. And Terry, would you have had a chance against JV and I yesterday?
Yeah, Tim. Yeah, Terry would have kept up with us. I mean, we didn't light that course on fire by any means. But we also didn't make a ton of really dumb mistakes. The big problem for it felt like all of us, Tim a little less, was just sawing off hyzers. And on that course, once you get past hole 8, you can't do that because they all play along the woods. So, my problem, and I think Pat Hamill and and Tim a little bit, but Tim also he was playing things a little wider. Just the drives were just a touch off, and I think Terry would have kept up just fine with us, and I don't think he would have done anything really crazy on those back longer holes that we didn't do. So it would have been fun.
Yes, and to take that a step further, the reason I couldn't, and I'm sorry I missed you, Tim, and again, we appreciate anyone and everyone if you come anywhere near our area and it happens to be an opportunity for us to get out and actually try and throw some discs. That's great for reaching out or running into you. After returning from Colorado, my girls had a day at their scout camp, their first day, which was a little rough considering we got in at 2 a.m. and they had to get back up at 7 a.m. to go to their first day of camp. But I actually traveled a few hours north. I spent the day I spent the evening ultimately with my good buddy Mike Schwieger, who celebrated his birthday yesterday. And we spent the night together, catching up, hanging out, and talking about everything golf and non-golf related. And then this morning I was again up early, where I traveled a little bit further north in Wisconsin. And I actually worked with the Epilepsy Foundation of Wisconsin. And this morning I had a couple of different groups, somewhere in the 25 to 30 range of kids that were at camp. They're there for the week. And I was able to introduce a bunch of kids to golf. Some have already played, but we set up a little course, a few holes, and then I taught them all the basics of holding it, throwing a backhand, and then they got to play this little course, and everyone went home with a disc when it was all said and done. And it was a really awesome experience. For those who don't know, I have done, I don't know if I could say hundreds of demos, maybe hundreds by now.
Yeah, probably.
I've done quite a few. It's been a while since I've sought out or had this opportunity, but it worked out really well to be able to travel up there, do the demo for these kids this morning, and then ultimately then hustle back to here in Milwaukee area. So I had a very long, and then tomorrow, in a similar sense, I work with a youth group that I helped establish a course with now a decade ago, as I say that, 10 or 12 years ago. And we have a youth family night out, which is focused around the disc golf course and, kids going out and playing along with their family, playing a 9-hole course in one of the Milwaukee suburbs. So I have that going on tomorrow. So back-to-back days. And then I get to step in and run a league that I help oversee on Thursday. So pretty crazy before leaving for this weekend's World Championship. So more than enough work to do.
Look at you, busy bee.
Busy as it is. And I know I said it last week, and it's still true. I've got St. Jude exhibition match. Essentially, it's done. It's got to just be rendered out. I've got additional coverage from, we had a few extra cards that got covered at the Ledgestone, and I've got vlog material. So all of this is going to be like a little Ledgestone recap / Worlds, preview-ish, or we'll say refresher. And that's all going to release over the next 5 to 7 days, just as we lead into Worlds. So get your mind back on Eureka and Sunset and all the fun things that we saw from Ledgestone. So that's all releasing over the next few days. All right.
We are ready for
go ahead.
Our Patreon support. If you would like to support SmashBoxxTV and all of our endeavors, you can go out to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV and sign up, and for as little as $1 a month. But we love you more if the more you give. We always say that. I mean, you can give us as much as $10,000 a month. I'm not here. I'm not your mom. I'm not here to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a SmashBoxxTV supporter and be entered into our weekly drawing. Terry, we have 198 entrants this particular week. Where do you fall on the number?
Well, I was going to say Paige is the 2-time now champion at the Rocky Mountain Women. I had 2 girls go to the event. 2 seems like the number tonight.
All right, we're going to go with 2.
My daughter had 2 birdie 2s during her round.
That's great.
It was incredible. Yeah, that I admit was, both were park jobs. She parked hole number 15. I think it's 96 feet. She parked it to like literally 2 feet behind it. And then she closed out the tournament. Hole 18, she also parked and had just a drop in. And and it's almost a little bit blind, the whole 100 feet that one is, but she parked it to close out the tournament. So it was very cool. So 2 seems to be a great number.
All right, our first number is 105. Our second number is 11. I did enter in the extra names that are out there. So number 11 is, scroll up the top, Anthony Hughes. Congratulations, Anthony Hughes. We will reach out to you, myself and Terry, or probably Terry, if I send him the information. And you will get something that Terry is.
Yeah, I've got something all lined up. Actually, we have, thank you to this year's Rocky Mountain Women's Championships, we have a giveaway of some good old swag that comes from them.
Well, that's great.
And that was graciously provided by the Rocky Mountain Women's Disc Golf Championships, presented by Discmania. Oh, it looks like a...
Looks like I last week sent you...
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't just send it to him and then copy me, but okay.
Because you never...
All right.
We've gone over this.
All right. Well, it sounds like we'll get our last week's winner all taken care of. And thank you. As always, we say it all the time. If you have one and you haven't seen something, do not hesitate to send me a reminder or a refresher or a response, because maybe sometimes we've reached out to you and we haven't heard back from you to confirm your mailing address or whatever the case might be. So by all means, we'll make sure we get all of your stuff sent out. All right, I'm going to read a few questions off the board before we call it here tonight.
I do want to explain why I didn't.
Go ahead.
Why I didn't send it to him. Because I haven't been sending them to people. Because what happens is if I carbon Terry and somebody, or I message them, inevitably when they respond, they just do a reply. They forget to do reply all. So then I get the address confirmation, and then I end up having to forward it on to Terry anyway. And it just adds an extra step. So instead, I send Terry all the information. He tends to email them, and then when they respond and say, "Yeah, that's my address," then Terry gets it. So that is that's why. And I haven't been sending them for a few weeks, so maybe a couple months even. Awkward.
All right. Yes, answering a few of the questions coming in from the board. I'm not sure if there's going to be what they're going to do for any kind of course previews. I don't know who's doing stuff of that nature. I know we're going to have a few added. We'll keep them secret for now, but there's going to, we talked about the commentary team and what we're going to have, we'll say personality-wise, there's going to be a few extra bonus things that we're going to be able to put out there for our worlds and have some additional content and some additional features for our World Championship. So we're super excited about doing that. Yes, both of my daughters did attend, my 8-year-old and my 10-year-old daughter. This was Allison's second year at the Rocky Mountain Women's. She had a lot of fun. I think to me and for her, regardless of where she did or didn't place, the improvement, she shot a 123 2 years ago, and I think on the exact same layout, she managed to shoot an 88, which was, of course, almost 2 strokes per hole improvement.
Were they on the same card?
They were.
Okay, so I was going to ask, if not, who did you walk with?
Yeah, no, I was able to walk with both of them. Again, great. The timing and the people and the way it all worked out, I was able to walk with both of my daughters, and Dave from Night Eyes walked with us for quite a few holes, so I was able to help them both. What didn't help is my 10-year-old throwing her very first shot of the tournament straight into the water on her favorite disc that she throws on every hole, and instead it went into the water. The 1998 Innova DX Cheetah that it was is now gone.
Oh.
So her very first throw, which, yeah, thankfully she handled it like a champ. We said, here's your other disc, and she, maintained throughout. But my heart sank a little as that disc sank to the bottom because that was literally her first throw of the tournament. There's water. Another girl, I think, lost 3 discs, unfortunately, on the first hole, but my daughter's first throw of the tournament this year went straight into the water. And, I was like, oh, gosh.
Were you worried about her reaction, or were you were you a little sad about losing?
No, I didn't care about the disc, or
okay.
I was just worried about her mental, just because she loves throwing that particular disc.
Oh, sure.
Thankfully, in the few rounds we got out to play in the last month, I very much had prepped them and just have always said, hey, we need to always get comfortable throwing these other ones. And she was able to maintain without. But Mackenzie, in a similar fashion on hole 14, threw her favorite disc into the water. It floated off, and surprisingly, we never got it back in the little pond there. So if you find a 136 diamond floating around, it says Allison and Mackenzie, and it says Cookie on top because my daughter also pulled a nice rookie mistake. And on our 6th hole, she anxiously ran up and threw from the red diamond that was not her red diamond, but her competitor, Maggie's red diamond, because they had the exact same disc, which even though, and at that point, we, in larger print, wrote the name Cookie on the top of Mackenzie's diamond. But yes, my daughter took a penalty stroke for that, for playing from the wrong lie. I'm telling you, it was fierce.
Lessons learned, man.
They all were learned, yes. We learned more than one lesson. So
oh, that's great.
It was
I mean,
it was
in the
fun.
grand scheme.
It was great. And all of the parents were great, of course. But yes, it was a very just shy of 4 hours on that round, and it was a long day. I just got done filming the FPO's entire round to then run over and hear the announcing of my daughter's rounds, and it made for a long day out there, but it was great. So yes, very fun, and yeah. Marcus is on our board, big supporter, says, can we get a shout out for Lucy, his daughter, for winning advanced women's at the Chick Flick 4-year anniversary of her first ever tournament. So yes, of course, to Lucy.
Well done, Lucy.
Congratulations out there. Another great women's tournament that we've heard so much about over the last few years, being the Chick Flick out in the northwest side of the country. All right. I think we're caught up on the board. I see Hannah Macbeth is out there.
She's lurking.
She's doing some regulating. She's doing some moderating. So we appreciate that, Hannah, keeping some of these guys in check. Dan Harbeck says, "Did you possibly forget to send you something?" No, I don't think so, Dan.
I think he's fishing for
the only thing you get is a big hug. I'll give you one of those next time I see you, buddy.
This past weekend, my wife was gone, and I binge watched at night the TV series The Boys on Amazon. Sit down, a series about superheroes, but the superheroes are not the nicest people in the world. They play to the public as superheroes, but behind the scenes are horrible, horrible people. So, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a very well done TV show in general. It is something that I think even you would enjoy. Really. Because it wasn't superhero-y. It was more about the story about these people who are who have become like collateral damage to the superheroes and how they're trying to get back at them. And it's not like, hey, we're going to go rescue so and so. It has almost nothing to do with that. It is a very, very good series. I highly recommend it. And again, it is even something I think you would enjoy on Amazon Prime. So if you get the chance, if you're not hooked in the first 20 minutes to a half hour, it's extremely gory. It is vulgar. It is sexual. It is all the things that make an R rating. So if that's not up your alley, then just avoid it. It's not your Marvel superhero type thing. But I enjoyed it quite a bit and thought it was funny and well worth my time.
Okay, well, speaking of shows, the few minutes I was, as I mentioned last night, I hung out with our good buddy Mike Schwieger, and in making our rounds around Appleton, where I gave him a little tour of where I lived when I was a little kid and what school I went to and all these other random things in the middle of the night. We visited his sister's house, who had also moved to the area, and she had on the Patriot. She had Patriot Act on, Are you familiar with it?
Is that a TV series or is that a comedy special?
It's a as they call it, a web television talk show.
Nope, don't know.
On Netflix, and I believe I was watching something from last year, and as she explained it, she said it's kind of like how did she word it? Did she say it's like a slightly younger he's like a slightly younger version of like a John Oliver, the way he kind of breaks down things, kind of a similar style. And I watched it for a few minutes. He was very much breaking down a story or some details on about Amazon, and there's obviously lots of stories out there about Amazon and employees and conditions and everything else. But anyway, long story short, I found it interesting, and I don't know if I'll seek it out for sure because I don't have a lot of spare time, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure you would like it as well. It was pretty good. I believe he's I don't know what his Hassan
Minaj.
Is it Minaj? Is that how it's pronounced? What? Well, I guess I could go to an IMDb and find out everything he's been involved in. Are you familiar with his work?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. I guess it's not quite as. Oh, okay. So as I'm looking, sorry, I see everything from the Wanda Sykes Show to Arrested Development,
he was
the Daily Show.
He was on the Daily Show.
That's
I thought I
main...
recognized him, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if that's your cup of tea or not, but it was something I very much enjoyed and something I might actually bother seeking out a little bit.
If you want something a little less, I'll say political or vulgar, just go watch Chef on Netflix. With there was a movie a few years ago, and now it's a TV series. It's basically about a chef.
Okay, you really had me on the edge of my seat.
I know, but that's what the movie's about. This is an actual series where they go and just cook food for people, and it's just talking, and it's really good. I think maybe I haven't recommended it a few weeks ago. I can't remember, but it's well worth it. It's a fun watch, and it's really just, I don't want to say brainless by any means, but just fun and just relaxing. It's just put it on in the background kind of thing.
All right, a few other comments coming in from the board. JT O'Brien says Fleabag was good on Amazon. I remember watching that a long time ago, and then I don't know when more seasons came out. I watched whatever was available at the time.
Second season now.
Okay, so I've only watched one then. Obviously, I just remember watching it, enjoying it, and then I was like, okay, well, that's all there was to it at the time.
I'll probably wait and catch it when it adds another season or so. I'll jump onto that.
Enzo says good morning from Germany, so good morning to you, Enzo. And then also JT O'Brien is hot on the board talking about disc golf has been on August 8th when ESPN does the Ocho. It's mostly for comedic reasons, but it's still ESPN talking about disc golf and the Ocho, and seems like there's been some chatter about it, but I'll admit I do not fully understand all the I know what the Ocho and the reference is there, but I don't know what is in current news with it. So
Enzo, I think you emailed me or messaged us, I don't know if it's necessarily an email, regarding, if not, it was a different Enzo probably, possibly, about why we don't do Wi-Fi at courses to do coverage. And the quick answer is, even with Wi-Fi, you still need a hardline internet to come to the park. So that's step one. That's a problem. Step two, he had laid out, why don't, putting repeaters in trees with power packs and things like that. And we actually discussed this at Maple Hill a few years ago, but a lot of times with the size of the courses and the reliability of internet, you need so many hotspots because each of them, in theory, are only supposed to cover about 300 square feet, or maybe it's 300 diameter or radius, but
pi r squared.
Pi r squared.
I had to get that in there somewhere tonight.
Today my son was talking about the Pythagorean theorem, so we had a nice discussion. But anyway, we there's prep time beforehand that we would need to get there to get that all set up, and then you need to worry about weather, because if it gets inclement and you have rain on all your equipment, that's a whole nother pain. The 4G cell signal, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, is the best and easiest solution for us. So those are some of the main reasons. If you had a permanent course that we went to all the time, that is definitely something I could see doing, running fiber out to some spots and maybe trying to supplement it with Wi-Fi. But the way we have to jump in and jump out of parks, it's just unfortunately not a realistic solution for the amount of spots that we would need to cover. If we were a small sport like an ultimate where we were just had a field, 100% would make sense. But unfortunately, I wish things were different. But the 4G cell, it does its job. So that's why I just thought I'd throw that out there.
All right. Well, and of course there's, and we don't know all the details yet, but as 5G continues to become a thing, we'll see how that impacts what capabilities we have and the couple of years it's going to take before we realize or can recognize and experience any of those possible advantages. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, I think
is that setting the bar low enough?
I hope so, because even 5G is a very short. It doesn't travel far, so you need to like blanket cities in order to cover them. So once we start talking about getting out of cities and going into like remote areas of parks, I don't even know.
So it may not. Okay.
I don't know if it's going to be 5 years or 7 years. We might be talking about satellite internet before we talk about 5G in some of our remote parks and locations that we have, just because there's no point in blanketing a park or we'll say, let's, a state park or something like that when you don't have a lot of people there, as opposed to a city. So I don't know what the future looks like for 5G. A couple years ago I was excited about it, but the more and more I read about it, the more I think if we're lucky, 4 to 5 years before we really see any true 5G coverage in most cities. Now you might get a couple, like Maple Hills, kind of on the outskirts of a city, so you could see something like that. Or there's a few other courses where you're not far from a city, a Peoria, Ledgestone, maybe at some of the parks, but I would not hold my.
It's not going to help us at Milo.
Correct. We're not seeing Milo again. That's where you start looking at things where people are talking about, maybe in a couple years we do have a satellite internet system, but that's a lot. So.
Man, and speaking of spooky, why is Siri recording everything we're saying right now?
Yes, I don't know. Siri started listening.
They're all listening. I tell you, everywhere is listening. Terry, what is the best way to get a hold of you to buy some discs? Probably reaching out to me on Facebook, and then once that gets buried and I inadvertently let it get buried or ignore it, reach out to me again and then ping me like a day later and just be relentless with me. And I'm not offended, and I hope not to offend anyone that does graciously want to either reach out or purchase something or inquire about something. Just reaching out to me on Facebook is probably always going to be the best way to go about it, though. So hopefully that helps. Some people have said my daughters may have a new career. I think we've got sales and accounting. My daughters were out there hustling this weekend in addition to playing, and I brought along a few discs and a few shirts at the last moment, and they set up a little stand. Thank you to Discmania for sharing some of their retail space with them, as there was a pop-up display stand and retail offering by my two children this weekend, and they had a lot of fun with it. So thank you to anyone and everyone that graciously either played along and or put up with my relentless badgering from my 8-year-old.
That I was just about to say, Mackenzie is relentless.
Yes.
Relentless, like to the point where I remember at putting league I was like, little girl, leave me alone.
Yes.
Like I'm not going to buy from you just because you're so like this. And
yes
she is. So Mackenzie is a handful.
She is.
Love her to death. She's a handful.
So thank you to all that like I said, and they made a lot of friends and had a lot of fun throughout the weekend for sure. Again, with just such an awesome event. All right. Like I said, I could rant and rave for hours about it, but we're going to call it a night here. It's been a great night. We got to learn so much more about Emerson Keith in our regular show, along with his wife, Mackenzie, and their expectant child, Charlie, and then Paige Bjerkaas coming in and giving us her updates, her life updates about upcoming nuptials, along with her defense her defense of her world title. So I love the night we had. It's been great. Thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers and supporters. Whether you win something or you don't, we just we appreciate every ounce of support, and all of the people that do reach out or say they want to buy a shirt or just say thank you for what we're doing. I met a lot of very, very appreciative and thankful people again this weekend, and we love doing it and providing any and all coverage, post-production or live. We love doing it. We'll keep at it. So this has been Podcast 259's After Show. For Johnny V and Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, the next disc golf guy, we're gonna see you next week, coming to you from Peoria for both the World Championships and our podcast number 260 on Tuesday night. And of course, we'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.